Hi, this is Roger Moore, and you're listening to James Bond Radio.
Hello, James Bond Radio listeners, and welcome to episode 20, the final episode of our 30 days of No Time to Die. With me is my good brother from another mother, Mr. Tom Sears. How are you doing, my Bondian buddy?
I'm good, mate. We did it, didn't we? We made it to the end. I remember when we did 30 Days of Spectre, we did literally an episode every day for 30 days, almost killed us. So this time we're like, let's be sensible about it. Let's do Monday to Friday, give us the weekends off. And you know what? It's worked beautifully, hasn't it? I think doing that is just the right amount without killing ourselves, isn't it?
I think you're right, yeah. And we managed to, like you said, do the Monday to Friday, group batch a couple as well. That helped. And I think last time, I just remember we were both exhausted for like weeks afterwards. So no, it's gone really well. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, we looked at the different parts of the movies ourselves. We've had JW with the music. We had that round table session, which I really enjoyed. That was great. Obviously looked at various different aspects of everything. But today, like with every movie review, we get to hand it over to the listeners, the 90-second listener review. Now, I tell you what, everyone that we've had, I think I'm looking forward to this one more than any other, just because I know what I hope is going to happen is the content is going to be so like different between everyone. So really, really excited, and also the amount of people that sent in is going to be a mega episode. This one,
yeah, big time, absolutely. Yeah, I'm intrigued, man. I think it's a divisive film, isn't it? And it's I'm intrigued to see what kind of voice. I'm especially excited to hear Dobson's voicemail, and see what he's got to say, because obviously he had to miss out on the round table, and I'm excited to hear Dan Gale pop up, because he always gets a bit creative, doesn't he, with his voicemails. I'm excited to see what those boys have to say, as well as obviously the wider JBR family. So, shall we get cracking then? Shall we turn it over to the fam?
Let's do it. Let's turn it over to the JBR family, and here are the 90-second reviews of No Time to Die.
My name's Bond. James Bond. Bond. James. Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British end up, sir.
Welcome to James Bond Radio. News, reviews, and discussion of all things 007.
Lucy, as you can see, I have no problem with female authority.
Oh, pipe down 007.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Hi, it's John Ward from Kent. The tone was the most striking part of the film for me. It felt really contemporary in the way Bond engages with people and the wider world. Times change, but we know this already. Pierce's Bond is different from Fleming's Bond, and Roger's Bond is different to Sean's Bond. Although it was achieved retrospectively, I think the filmmakers managed to reflect something of a character arc from Casino Royale to now. The years covered in those stories is an entire career, a period where nearly everyone's sensibilities or behaviour will evolve, especially when you fall in love and become a parent, so I appreciated seeing this. It should be said that although we didn't see full-on dick-swinging Bond, copyright Tom Sears, he's clearly still up for it. He couldn't wait to neck his drink and follow Nomi into the bedroom, and Bond's body language and Paloma's dialogue strongly suggest that they would have been at it given the opportunity. It didn't need to be in our faces, so to speak. Within seconds of the end of my first viewing, I said to JBR mates that I think the film might only be fully appreciated further down the line. Craig's emotional tone was close to that of George's in Majesties, and friends said they can now appreciate what it must have been like seeing Tracy's death in 1969. That must have been jarring after watching the invincible Bond of the first 5 films, but it's almost universally appreciated now. I totally understand why some people don't want to see the death of Bond, but I'm fine with it, as it fits the tone and direction of Craig's tenure. I don't mind saying I cried my eyes out at the end. It really touched an emotional nerve with me. As for the future, I'm really excited. An important period of Bond has been sewn up, and hopefully we can look forward to a reboot which will help entertain current fans and engage a new generation.
Hey guys, Steve Parkhurst from Houston, Texas here. I am exactly 1 hour and 6 minutes from having seen the words James Bond will return on my movie screen at No Time to Die. Got my first opportunity to see it tonight, so I went and saw it on IMAX. So it sounded good, it looked good. I don't know where I would put this movie 1 to 25. The plot was bizarre. Safin, what an odd character. Really, really weird. Not really sure where. Really weak, in my opinion. Thought this was Daniel's best acting job, and having Leah turn in a stellar performance as well. She has to throw in some of the screaming and some of the kind of the theatrics, but really, really well acted on their parts. Hated to see Leiter go out the way that he did, especially this Leiter, Jeffrey Wright. Really, really enjoyed him through the series. So, yeah, this movie, man, just not really sure what to make of it. It's possibly going to take a second viewing, and frankly, I don't know that I want to see it a second time. That's kind of my struggle as I was thinking about it over the last hours. Do I really want to see this one again? And I'm just not sure that I do. So I'm going to spend the next day getting caught up with your podcast. I wanted to go in spoiler free and with an open mind. And so keep up the great work, and we'll be in touch.
Hi guys, this is Gareth from East Yorkshire. So No Time to Die was a bit of a mixed bag for me, as there's moments I loved, such as the pre-title sequence and the chasing of terror, but then I felt the plot lost its way after the theme song. It just started to get confusing and messy and overlong. I hated the part when all the Spectre agents died. To me it was like a quick and cheap way of just killing them off and tying up that story thread. I know the film was supposed to tie up loose ends, but I expected something better than this, and it just felt a bit forced to me. Just like when Bond said die, Blofeld grabbing him felt so much out of character, but killing off Blofeld, Leiter and Bond was just too much for me to handle. I think they did too much with it, and the villain's motives were never clear enough for either. And then that ending, coming out of a pandemic to then get this depressing ending, I felt like I was leaving a funeral more than a cinema. So that's my initial thoughts, guys. Thanks for the great content. Bye.
The name's Baylor, John Baylor. You know, when they kept delaying the release of No Time to Die, I figured maybe they were having second thoughts about killing off James Bond. But holy hell, that scene at the end of the movie was magnificent. I can't believe they actually went ahead and had the nerve to do that. They found a way to make it appropriate, and I thought they really nailed Daniel Craig's run as Bond. He's taken it over as number one Bond for me. Timothy Dalton, I'm really sorry, you're still my number two. But Craig, you finally did it, man. I guess the only thing I'm not quite sure I really liked was the reuse of the themes, the musical themes from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. They sounded great. They were appropriate. I just have mixed feelings about whether or not it would have been nicer to use a brand new score. But one of the best Bonds ever. I can't wait to see it again.
No Time to Die review. This film just sends me into a rage every time I think about it. I hated the ending. I felt like it was a betrayal. That's the overriding word that I feel about this film. There's a betrayal. I walked out like I was walking out of a funeral. Never want to watch a Bond film again after I just don't trust them anymore because they've just got no creativity. They just did this because they didn't have any fucking ideas and wanted to be clever. It just did not. It wasn't even fucking good enough to end it that way. That's even if they want to do it that way, it wasn't good enough. It's got to be a 9 out of 10 to even think about that. And the only bit that was that good was the Ana de Armas scene and maybe the machine guns in the Aston Martin. But, oh, God, this is just shit.
Hello. In short, James Bond did not die in No Time to Die. What you actually saw was the high explosive bombs go into the manufacturing factory through the holes, and what you saw land at the side of James Bond was the white decoy flares, which were nothing more than harmless fireworks, but it was led to believe that he actually died. That was a smart bit of directing and filmography. So well done for fooling us there. And James Bond will return in Bond 26 when you find out he's escaped from the island having repaired himself with a first aid kit that was in the submarine. He turns up at MI6 headquarters and reveals himself to M as the new James Bond. The new character playing the new James Bond is the original James Bond, obviously, the same man, shall we say, but a different actor. And he'll be returning his toy to his child, and we'll discover that the EMP watchers killed the nanobots virus inside him. So yes, sorry to upset people. This is David. That James Bond did not die in No Time to Die. He survived it. It was just flares that dropped either side of him. That's it. Thank you.
No Time to Die. I loved it. So worth the wait. What a fitting way for Daniel to leave the road behind, and what a legacy he leaves behind him. If ever a Bond was going to die, it would have been his. And I really enjoyed it. I really came out the first viewing, and like most people, I was a bit unsure. I was like, well, just I'm a bit similar to Tom from Casino, but second June, sent it home. I loved it. Thought it was perfect. Near enough perfect anyway. I thought the action was outstanding. I really loved the winner at the end of the staircase. I thought that was exceptional. I thought Madeline was fantastic. Ana de Armas, wow. Even on Nomi, surprised me. I didn't think I would like her, but I did. I thought she was really good. I liked all the cat. I thought Safin was really creepy and menacing. We could have had more of him. I agree with that. Could have had more of him. With the Majesty's references in the score, they didn't bother me. And to be honest, when We Have All the Time in the World played at the start of the film, I was taken aback. I had a tear in my eye straight away from that. So I had no problems with that at all. I loved it. I really did. And I'll miss Daniel Craig. He's my Bond. And he's going to be a hard man to follow. So that's my thoughts.
Hi guys, Dan Whiting from Bristol here. I have a real love-hate relationship with No Time to Die. The things I love, the classic nods to Bond, the score, the V8, Robert Brown popping up. I love Paloma very much. The whole Cuba scene. I think Lashana Lynch is really good and memorable, even if she hasn't got a lot to do. And I really enjoy the dynamic between Q and Bond. The things that I hate, and there are quite a few, but maybe hate's a bit of a strong word. We've got two great actors in Christoph Waltz and Rami Malek, totally underused, although I kind of understand why, because I think they wanted to ensure that all the attention was on Daniel. I hated them killing off Felix, but again, I guess that's so a new actor can take on the role with no questions asked as to why Jeffrey Wright isn't recast. The new Aston that Nomi drove was totally underused. We didn't see it do anything apart from screech into an airport. But finally, killing Bond and giving him a child was just one step too far for me. Overall, I would give the film 8 out of 10, with the last two elements stopping me giving it a 10 because I can overlook the other little bits I've mentioned. So what next? For me, it's back to one-offs with no story link and a light-hearted approach. Let's face it, No Time to Die is about as far removed from Octopussy as Night is today. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Hello, this is Dennis James Harden from upstate New York talking about No Time to Die. Yeah, on my first viewing, it really hit the spot. I loved every frame. I'd probably put it in my top 5. However, on my second viewing, it didn't have quite the same impact. I don't know why. Certain things I do feel were kind of wrong. Felix, that was kind of, I don't know about that. I would like to think that the missiles blew Bond into the water and he somehow swam to a nearby island, which happened to be populated exclusively by women, where he then decides that he prefers a more Roger Moore Bond lifestyle. And hopefully that's what we get in the next incarnation. That's what I want to believe as far as the ending of the movie goes. But the whole thing is really well done. I guess I'm on the fence. The real test will be how often do I pop in the Blu-ray when I get it? Do I watch it every day like I could The Living Daylights, Octopussy, or Goldfinger? Or is it something that I'm only going to be in the mood for once a year? So that time will tell. Still, though, go see it. Definitely go see it and enjoy Craig's final outing. All right, guys. Take care.
Hello, JBR. This is Adam Slusser from Station C, Canada. It's been a really long time. I am here with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. I already kind of wrote a review on Letterboxd, so I'll just kind of rehash it. Too technically competent to be a truly bad film. Cary Fukunaga does a great job with the directing. But No Time to Die is maybe the most ill-advised entry in the whole Bond franchise. Hooked for about roughly the first third of the film, the Cuba sequence is one of the greatest moments maybe of the whole Daniel Craig era, but the whole movie is soured once it veers away from escapism and spectacle to something much darker and dour. With a stronger storyline, this might be forgivable, but there's too many loose threads and questionable decisions throughout, most egregious of which, spoiler alert, the death of James Bond by a volley of missiles. But after the end credits, the film insists James Bond will return despite what you may have just witnessed. Call me a stickler for formula, but the reason the Bond franchise has been so successful up until now is because within the constraints of that formula, it can still be exciting and interesting. Abandoning that formula for greater emotional stakes and cheap shock value is something I have a very difficult time getting behind. I really struggled with this one, guys. Yeah, so there we go. Take care. We'll see you keeping the British end up. Bye.
Hi Tom, hi Chris. This is Roman from Station L, Lithuania. MI6 has no sanction of this station yet, so don't tell anyone. This is my 19-second review of No Time to Die. I'm very much in the same boat as you guys regarding the second viewing. When I went to see it the first time, I left the cinema feeling a bit numb, because obviously there was a lot to unpack from this, especially the ending. I knew that I enjoyed it, I just didn't know how much, and I needed to process that in my head. I did know that this was going to be a polarizing one among fans, kind of like Daniel Craig himself, as James Bond. We've never had a Bond before with such a stark contrast of people who love him or hate him. And then up to this day, you just need to see some of the comments of people moaning that this is the end of Bond because he's dead, which is nonsense. But ultimately, I loved the movie even more after the second viewing, with all its flaws. If there was one thing I'd change about it if I had my way, it's I would just leave it a bit more ambiguous at the end and not have us see the rain of missiles landing on Bond's head. Instead, just make it a faraway shot of the island and a rain of missiles dropping on it. Anyway, love the podcast, guys. Cheers.
Hi there, this is Martin giving my review of No Time to Die. First off, I have to say I absolutely loved the film. I saw it once and immediately went back the next day on my own to see it again. I watched all the Daniel Craig films this week in the run-up to going to a drive-in cinema viewing tonight, which I'm really excited about. And I have to say it's up there with Casino Royale for me, and it's one of my all-time favourite Bond movies, mainly because of how brave they were with the script and just the amazing performances from the cast. I think there are so many iconic moments. There's the DB5 scene with the amazing Hans Zimmer score. There's the Cuba scene, Bond and Savin sit down. I thought that was great. The dialogue I thought was sparkling. And of course the ending. Very special Bond film this, because it's the first time that my wife has come to see a Bond film with me, and she loved it. Wants to see it again and is coming with me this evening. The ending. It was shocking and it was emotional. I was a blubbering mess. I thought it was a fitting end, and it took me to that dialogue bit in Casino Royale where it says 00s don't have a long life expectancy. The final ascent score is absolutely beautiful, and every time I listen to it, it takes me to that scene. I thought he was very Bond. I thought he was Bond-like till the end. He was stoic when facing the enemy. And how amazing we got a gun barrel scene. Loved it.
Hi guys, Decker here. This is my first ever attempt and ever sending a voicemail like this, so I'm a bit nervous. But this is my 90-second review of No Time to Die. I've seen the film 10 times now. The first time that I've seen it, I have to be honest, I came out and all I could think about was the ending. It rocked us for days. I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't even take my kids to school. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't eat. All I could think of was just that ending. I forgot about the pre-title sequence. I forgot about Bond having a child. I forgot about Felix dying. I forgot about so much things that happened in the film. I obviously was going to go a second time, but I actually seen your guys like sort of post saying, it's all about the second viewing. I went back the second time on my own. I just wanted to go on my own and just, kind of get my head around it. And I walked out and thought, do you know what? That actually might be the best one I've ever seen. I absolutely love it. I think the pre-title sequence is unbelievable. I know that you mentioned it's a bit bloated, but for me, fatter the better. Absolutely love it. I just want to touch on one thing about how 007 got 007 back. Nomi obviously was going to see Logan Ash in the forest. That was the whole plan. Maybe if she had to get in there somehow and Logan Ash kidnapped her and was about to kill her, and then Bond saves her life, like, really, really tension, make it like last second, Bond saves her life. Then in the next scene, she kind of holds her hands up and says, you know what, he is really the 007, and because of that, because of what you've done, I'm going to hand it back to you. I think that would have been a lot better. But lastly, thanks for the great work that you was doing. Because of the Bond community, James Bond will always return.
Hello, Darren Bissell here with my review of No Time to Die. Now, I can understand that certain elements of this film may make Fleming raise an eyebrow or two, but people forget that every actor that's played the part, and indeed the movies, move for the times. That's how the franchise has lasted almost 60 years. Did the Beatles write Love Me Do every day until they split? The days of unflappable Bond and naked silhouetted ladies are gone. You can all remember those days with warm nostalgia. They're not going away. Just don't expect them now, if indeed ever again. This, I believe, is Eon closer than ever to selling the franchise. Even the declaration James Bond will return didn't feel convincing. If the Eon franchise does end with this film, I'm happy, although it isn't perfect. The film as a whole tries to tick many boxes, however, I still think it's too long. The pre-title sequence is possibly the best of the lot, and I have to say, like Spectre, all other action sequences within this film pale in comparison. For me, this is Daniel's best performance as Bond. The cast is terrific, apart from the meerkat Valdo. The direction is efficient and solid. The script is sharp, yet the influences aren't seamless, which does make it feel like it's written by a committee at times. This film is like a huge chocolate fudge cake, yet it tastes like a Victoria sponge. Victoria sponge isn't my absolute favourite, but it's a very good alternative. Cheers, guys.
Hello, this is Philip Latchford of the Dogs of Bond fame, and this is my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Well, it was a long wait, wasn't it? But it was worth it. I was fortunate enough to have gone to the premiere, and to be fair, the only bit I didn't like was the Universal logo. From that moment onwards, I loved it. I loved every second. I was watching that film and I thought, this is such a great film. I just enjoyed the tone. I enjoyed the humour in the film, and there is a lot of it. Despite the darkness and the darkness of the ending, there is a lot of humour in it. Obviously, the Paloma scenes, she was excellent, and I think Daniel knew how excellent she was, and that line must have been improvised. Sad to see Felix die. Bond himself is very emotional, but I felt like it was inevitable. And it led to it really nicely. So it didn't come as a shock. It didn't come as a surprise. The surprise was Hugh Dennis's death. That was shocking. But the film I thought Madeline was fantastic. She's so much better than the previous films. And as for the use of the Barry songs, We Have All the Time in the World and the Feed for Majesties, I just thought they were perfect. They were beautiful. Really sort of emphasised the fact that Bond was back on the job. But James Bond will return.
This is Gerard from Station L in London. Just reporting in. Guys, they killed him, right? They killed our boy, they killed our man, they killed our Bond. But it's Daniel Craig, right? It's Daniel Craig. You knew it was always going to be emotional. You knew that it was always going to be difficult. And you knew that you probably weren't going to like it, right? But what a way to go. What a fantastic bloody film that was. I mean, seriously. Cary Fukunaga, the finest director that we could have hoped for to end that run. Beautiful, beautiful. Tom, I caught up with you in the casino afterwards. You seemed a bit down even then. But like, you know, it was mixed emotions, right? We were going through some heavy stuff. dealing with that emotion. But it was always leading to that, right? It came from Casino, it came from Spectre, Skyfall, all of them. But what an ending. Boys, love you. You've been brilliant. You've helped me through a lot. Can't say another wonderful...
Hey, fellas, how are you? My name is Brian Parks. I'm calling from New Jersey here, across the pond. I got to tell you, I love the show. You guys are as Tom would say, you guys are the business. I love you guys. You guys make me laugh. Not only the insight, but you guys make me roll. I mean, the whole thing on the No Time to Die with the tissue thing, with the ending, and Tom goes, somebody really loved the ending. I was rolling. You guys are the best. As for the film, I gotta say, to the whole film. Really, 2.5 stars out of 5, if I had to say. I really, I felt like, you can't have Bond die. What are we doing here? I mean, and not only that, but he dies to who kills him? I mean, Saffron was a good villain, but he's just like any other Bond villain. I mean, that's like watching a Batman film and King Tut's the one to get him. I mean, you got to have the Joker in the ending here. I mean, I agreed with Tom on that too. I think Blofeld should have been in the ending there. And not only that, but I'm surprised Q, M, and Moneypenny survived. You killed Felix. You killed Blofeld. Bond's got a kid. What are we doing here? A little bit too much there. I like being different there. I like that aspect, but it went a little too far for me there. And I'm surprised, Bond survived all these other explosions during the film. I kind of was hoping he was going to survive the last one still. I was like holding out hope. Maybe, why not? So it was a good film. The action scenes were great. The cast was great. But overall, it's probably middle of the pack for me. Chris and Tom, you guys are the best. I can't wait for the next Bond film just so I can hear your review. I love it. You guys are the best. God bless. Hopefully get a beer one day in the city, huh?
The name's Baylor. John Baylor. When they kept delaying the release of No Time to Die, I figured maybe they were having second thoughts about killing off James Bond. But holy hell, that scene at the end of the movie was magnificent. I can't believe they actually went ahead and had the nerve to do that. They found a way to make it appropriate, and I thought they really nailed Daniel Craig's run as Bond. He's taken it over as number one Bond for me. Timothy Dalton, I'm really sorry, you're still my number 2. But Craig, you finally did it, man. I guess the only thing I'm not quite sure I really liked was the reuse of the themes, the musical themes from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. They sounded great. They were appropriate. I just have mixed feelings about whether or not it would have been nicer to use a brand new score. But one of the best Bonds ever. I can't wait to see it again.
Hello, this is Eric Illy from Montana in the United States with my review of No Time to Die. I had mixed feelings about this film. I would say on the good side, we had a great action sequence with the DB5, perhaps the best in the entire series. I thought we had a good title song. I really enjoyed that bar game that Bond and Felix played, really showcased their friendship. And I thought Paloma was fantastic. On the downside, I think there's a long list of specific little things like that CGI glider / submarine and other stuff I didn't like. But I think my biggest problem with the film is that almost all of the plot lines end on a negative or some uninspiring note. Let me give 3 examples. In almost all the Bond films, Bond is often dressed impeccably, but the last time we see him on the screen, he's dressed like a common worker. In fact, he looks exactly like the coal workers we see in the movie Titanic. Felix Leiter, his best friend, was built up as such a model of coolness in the previous films. He dies a very non-heroic death, gets shot by an ally. Now, Bond dies a hero's death, but all of his final tributes seem almost half-hearted. There's no rousing speech by M on Bond's contributions, how one man can make a difference, all that type of thing. There are kind of hints of it at the end, but if this was supposed to be the great finale to Daniel Craig's run, I think there was so much of it that just really fell flat.
Hello, this is David again. Just to remind you that you were looking for some kind of clue that James Bond had survived the bomb attack. I did say earlier on that the high explosives went down into the manufacturing factory, and what landed either side of him were harmless decoy flares, which wiped out to give the impression that he had died. The clue you were looking for, did he survive it, was the glass of whiskey left on the table in M's office. If he'd have died and they knew he'd died, there'd be no glass waiting for him. The glass is there as like a mission in action. They can't be 100% he died. So in Bond 26, Bond will return and drink that glass of whiskey that's been left for him. It's his whiskey. It belonged to James Bond, and that's the clue that you're waiting for. And yeah, it's going to be a continuation. So he didn't die. That glass is a representation by the filmmakers and screenwriters that it will be drunk by James Bond in Bond 26. He is not dead. They would never have left that glass there for him. Clever bit of screenplay writing.
Hi, this is Craig Haywood's 90-second review of No Time to Die. The pre-title sequence, which is the longest in the franchise, is a great opening to any Bond. Really, really good. Love the theme tune. I think it goes great with the film. And there's some good standout performances in the movie as a whole. As a whole, am I liking it? Not 100% no. I think it lulls a little bit in the middle. I think they've tried to cram too much action in and not sustain too much plot. I think the backstory for Safin is very weak. We know what he's about, but there's no real backstory between him and Madeline. The score, I think, is particularly poor. Too much emphasis on Her Majesty's Secret Service being thrown in there, which at the beginning is a nice touch, but come the end, you're kind of thinking, come on, give us some original. Daniel Craig's performances stand out. I think it's fantastic. Do I think they should have killed him off at the end? Absolutely not. I think it's weak. I think they could have thought of something better. And in a way now, I'm glad that Daniel's left the franchise. I think if an actor can have that much power, then they're in trouble. Hopefully they'll come back and do something as good. For me, it's a 7 out of 10. Cheers, guys.
Hi, Chris and Tom. Long-time listener, but first-time review that's been compelled by this absolute disgrace of a movie. Hopefully I'll be able to put into words the anger that remains at what I think is a total betrayal of the character, of Fleming, of Cubby Broccoli, of all those who have helped create the films and books, and above all the fans who have kept 007 alive for 68 years. I absolutely agree with everyone who says that as a film it is close to one of the best and not far off Casino Royale. The acting across the board is first-rate, with even Daniel Craig being bothered to engage this time. The story is decent without the gaping holes of Skyfall. The action is top-notch, but the fact remains you cannot kill James Bond at the end of any movie. It is lazy, it is creatively bankrupt, especially with the use of Majesties, and it smacks of looking for a cheap, quick publicity hit at the expense of the history of cinematic Bond. Literally, where do you go from here to eclipse this ending? My gut feeling is that this is the ultimate act of hubris and self-indulgence on the part of Daniel Craig, and that he believes he is James Bond. He is not. He is a custodian. You might be able to argue that if Craig was the first incarnation of 007, then this is a conclusion and acceptable. But it's not, and he's not. Bond films finish on the feel-good factor of how 007 has defeated the bad guy and upset the odds which often look like they will kill him. For the casual film moviegoer, this will be a treat for the overall package, but I'm afraid Eon need to reflect on the impact on the fan base, because they may find the end credits reading, James Bond fans will not return.
Hey guys, holy cow, what a way to send Daniel off with a bang. My goodness. So, first viewing, didn't like it at all, because I couldn't get past all the shock value of, they're killing Felix, now they're killing Blofeld, now Q is gay, and, 007's a woman, and they're killing Bond, and he's got a little daughter. And I'm like, wait, the fuck? And so my mind, my little tiny brain, guys, my little excited mind could not process it. But upon my fourth viewing now, I've seen it 4 times, it has gotten better and better and better and better and better. I just love it now, dude. I watched that movie and it grew on me. It straight up grew on me. I didn't know if I liked, Hans Zimmer ripping off stuff, but I kind of like his score, and all the action was phenomenal. And guys, I just got to leave you with this. The car chases, oh my gentle Jesus, awesome. I know that you thought the SUV chase was, a little bit stale, but hey, pretty dang cool in my opinion. But I gotta say, that DB5 chase in Matera, guys, that might be the king of the hill. That might be top of the heap just because of the gadgets involved. Super, super cool. So, would love to talk to you guys in person about this, but that's my 2 cents. And hey, the James Bond will return at the end really made me happy. I know it did for you guys too. All right, cheers.
Hey JBR, this is Kurt Shamala from Cincinnati, Ohio. Regarding No Time to Die, I'm still not sure where I stand on it. I felt like it hit a lot of traditional Bond moments and a lot of untraditional Bond moments. Overall, with closing out the Daniel Craig era, I almost feel like it's on its own separate timeline off the main Bond movie franchise. Good or bad, it had its ups and downs, but as a Bond fan, I think I'm kind of ready for new writers than Purvis and Wade, who seem to be attached to everything since World Is Not Enough. I think they've had more misses than hits, honestly, though there's plenty of good moments. I think the bad outweigh the good. I'll admit coming off Spectre was probably my least favorite Bond movie of all time. So in that circumstance, I liked No Time to Die better than that. And like I said, some of the traditional Bond moments. Feel at this point, with Amazon's purchase of MGM, I mean, my thoughts are with how many franchises have broached into television. Here's my blue sky idea of bringing back Brosnan or Dalton for a older Bond limited series on Amazon Prime, and kind of reboot things after that, cleanse the palate of the Craig era. But I'll say it's a 5 right now.
Double O Dobson here. Do you know what? 90 minutes isn't going to be long enough for this, let alone 90 seconds. But here goes. What did I like about it? Well, here we go. The DB5 chase, wonderful. Linus Sangren is the hero of this for me. Cinematography was beautiful. Bond in Jamaica. The Cuba scenes. Paloma. Nomi. Safin. The 4x4 chase. The death of Logan Ash. What really made me smile was Bond in a yellow dinghy again, fantastic. And the return of B549WUU, loved that. But what didn't I like? Well, here we go. Obruchev, I wish Nomi just shot him, never mind give him a bloody nose. The overindulgent pre-title sequence, just too long and detailed for me, that. Nanobots. Bond's apology, I get why, but didn't like it. Felix's death. Blofeld's death. Bond's death. Raising a toast to Bond. I didn't like that. The overuse of the Majesty's theme. Bond's disrespect to M, although I get why. Just the script, basically. It just felt disjointed. It felt like each scene had been written by a different team of writers. It was just awkward. Overly emotional. Far too sentimental. Plenty of other films do that. Don't do it to Bond. Stop getting Bond wrong. Cubby once said, come out of here walking tall. Well, I felt like Nick Nack. Bye.
Hey, Tom and Chris, Mike Heinrich calling in from Station M, Minnesota. So, the first 2.5-ish hours of the movie were on track to be one of my favorite Bond films ever. I'm a big Roger and Pierce guy myself, so I love the goofy comic booky stuff and the silly one-liners, the gadgets, the over-the-top villains, and kind of all the stuff that's been missing from the Craig films so far. The Cuba scene in particular is one of my favorites ever. I loved the Nomi 007 bits. I loved Paloma. Pretty much loved every scene, even the controversial stuff you guys already mentioned, like Blofeld and Safin being underdeveloped and the On Her Majesty's Secret Service cues. I even didn't really mind the Matilda angle. At least there's some basis for that in Fleming, and I really don't care what Bond ends up doing in the end as long as he rides off into the sunset. But then they killed Bond, and in my mind, Bond shouldn't die. I still haven't decided if it totally ruined the movie for me after seeing it 3 times, but I know that I hate that particular aspect of it. And I think the fact that I loved the rest of the movie so damn much really kind of makes it even worse, and I kind of got robbed of what was shaping up to be one of my favorite Bond films. However, if they had to have him die, I can kind of separate that in my head, the Craig films, but I think a better way to have done it would have had him kind of sit on top of that building and pull out the cigar that he was going to give to Felix and light it up and start smoking it as the missiles come down. I think that would have been a much more Fleming way for him to go. As I said in the movie, I shall not waste my days trying to belong them. I shall live my life. So anyway, thanks guys for all the No Time to Die stuff. Bye.
This is Justin Tulloch from Station A, Arizona, United States, calling with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Love the podcast, guys. First of all, the opening scene was great. I think it ranks right up at the top of the entire franchise as far as the pre-title sequences go. It was fantastic. It was shot very well. I loved it. I enjoyed the clothing choices in the film. For pretty much every character, I think it was really great. I think that they sort of played into the plot and the storyline pretty well. I think Safin was a menacing character, but not quite to the level of Silva. I think he ranks sort of somewhere in the middle of the pack as far as the bad guys in the entire franchise. The ladies in the film surpassed my expectations all the way around. Nomi was pretty good. Madeline was fantastic. Lestu acted her butt off in this. Mathilde was great. She actually reminds me of my daughter Avery. In Paloma, just hit it out of the park. Fantastic. There was lots of humanity in this film. It felt really real, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. Felix, Jeffrey Wright as Felix, would have loved to see more action out of him, but it was great overall. And then Daniel Craig, for me, ranks as one of the top 2 Bonds all time, right along with Sean Connery. They're all great. They all bring their own thing to the table, but for me, it's Craig and Connery at the top. I enjoyed this film. Look forward to hearing all the other reviews. Thanks, guys.
Tom and Chris, it's me. It's Rob here from Station D Dublin, guys, with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. I'm not going to mention the delays. Plenty of people will talk about that. Delighted the movie is finally with us. I've seen it twice now. The first time I saw it, I was a little bit unsure of it. I really enjoyed all of the individual sequences. I really liked the Hans Zimmer score. I thought Daniel Craig, I should say, was having the time of his life. You can tell how much fun he's having in this movie. But the problem I had with it was the plot was all over the place, and the emotional beats didn't really hit me as hard as the movie wanted them to. I thought the final sequence was signposted from a mile away. I thought as soon as we heard All the Time in the World early in the movie, I was like, oh, I better know what's going to happen at the end. James Bond's going to die, and the movie's going to end with All the Time in the World. And I was right. Now, that being said, I went to see it a second time, and I enjoyed it a lot more. I thought the emotional beats hit me a lot harder. I understood the plot a lot more. And I was just really, really impressed across the board with Daniel Craig and all the lead actors. I do not think it's a perfect movie. I do not think it's a 5-star movie, but I think it sits neatly in the Craig era. I think it's very, very watchable. I think we're going to love it more as the years go by and we rewatch it and we kind of grow to appreciate its charms. And I think it's really, really solid. So yeah, really, really pleased. And on to the next guy.
Hello, fellow JBR radio family, friends, hosts. My name is Darren from Station C, Canada. I'm a relatively new listener joining the JBR family. Love the episodes. I love that there's so many for me to go through. Huge Bond fan my whole life. Started in the early 80s when my dad, who was a teacher, brought home one of the very first VCRs. The one that's the size of a dishwasher. You need both hands to close. Brought home Goldfinger, and it blew my mind. First movie at the theater, View to a Kill, nostalgia. I love that movie. No Time to Die. I'm on my 4th viewing. I've seen it in every format. The 3D was actually much better than I was expecting. I'm torn. As a longtime fan, I didn't leave the theater with that triumphant feeling, knowing that Bond overcame everything as you knew he would. But for a few months here and there, you think he might not, but you know he would. But the producer side of me, I'm a producer in entertainment. And looking at it that way, with looking at Daniel Craig's tenure, I think this is the time. If you're ever going to deviate from the formula, this would have been the time to do it. So I think it ended perfectly. So I'm still on the fence. Love so much about it. There's a couple elements I didn't like about Bond, where he asked Paloma to turn away. That's not Bond. But for the most part, I loved it. Love this family. Love being a part of it. Hope my cut makes it in. Ciao. This is Darren. One last time, I wanted to add on. I know I'm not supposed to go over 90 seconds, but maybe you'll give me a pass because I'm a new listener, first-time caller. Did anybody else notice that there was several cuts in the film, lines of dialogue and certain scenes where they were in the trailer? There was different alts in the trailer versus what ended up in the film. There's a couple lines where I felt like what was in the trailer was much stronger than what ended up in the film. The biggest one being, we all have our secrets. We haven't got to yours yet. I feel like in the trailer, that was a much more powerful delivery. And there's a couple Mallory scenes that kind of felt weird too. Yeah, just wanted to add that. This probably won't make the cut. But I got to say, I love what you guys are doing. I wish I could be part of one of your discussions at some point. Perhaps I will. All the best, guys. Thanks.
Greg from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. Thanks, Tom and Chris, for all you do. Great job and much appreciated. I've been a Bond fan going way back to the mid-1970s. Read the books, and I am mostly an old-school Fleming, grittier Bond fan. There's a lot to like about this film. I thought the script was detailed and pretty decent, but needed some gaps filled. The various throwbacks, many subtle, but mostly darn good. But here comes the big but. To me, there is only one James Bond. There is no Daniels Bond. Key elements of 007 always remain the same. Of course, the actors have a license to update and give their interpretation of James Bond, but they should in no way have a license to kill James Bond. There is a Bond for everyone, and that's the beauty of the Bond franchise. I'm sorry, this isn't like other franchises with many significant characters. We just have James Bond. This ending is just wrong. Yes, it is powerful, and it's actually well done. The first viewing made me cry. More so because of what they did to James Bond, but on the second viewing, the ending made me mad. Bond does not give up. If they wanted to give a Daniel ending, they could have rode him off into the sunset with his family or something, but they didn't. Why? In today's world, I think to some degree, people just want to erase the past and don't really appreciate tradition. There are people who think they're Napoleon or God, and it's really unfortunate. Yes, James Bond will return because in my eyes, he never left.
Hi, Tom and Chris. It's Grant Lester, and I'm a newish listener. I've been listening since the end of 2020, and I just want to say thanks a lot for keeping me going through this James Bond drought. Just a real quick one. No Time to Die. The first time I saw it, I didn't really like it that much. I enjoyed it, but things didn't sit well with me. Second time was yeah, I appreciated it a bit more, and then the third time I really appreciate the angle they were going at with it. There's some things that just still don't sit right, but overall it's a pretty damn solid movie. 90 seconds, man. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like the Nomi and Bond interactions, and it's worth noting that Safin did die by his own petard, hoisted by his own petard. He obviously got shot by Bond, but he also scratched himself with Madeleine's thing, and essentially he couldn't see her either. And then on top of that, when the silo doors opened, he then must have fallen into the pit of acid or whatever it was. So he kind of did die by his own petard as well. It's worth noting that. But yeah, keep up the good work. I'd like to hear some more from you guys. Take care. Bye.
Hi, Tom and Chris. Gavin Leonard Thompson, Station W, Westminster. A truly mesmerising film, this, and I agree with you that this is a fitting way for Daniel Craig to end his tenure as Bond. I was totally gutted at the Royal Premiere where I saw it first, but I've now seen it 5 times and I've grown to really like this movie. 3 random points. Firstly, on the movie itself, I'm really glad he had his 007 number restored to him, because for me, if James Bond is to die, I wouldn't want him to die as anything other than 007. Then on the music, I believe this is the only time where the bebop section, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, is heard at no point in the film, even in the end credits. I was totally stunned by that. However, I did like the sequence at Hammersmith Bridge where the OHMSS theme is playing slowly in the background, because we can see that M is restoring James Bond to work on Her Majesty's Secret Service, as is clear by the fact that he calls him Sir at the end. Quite different from the earlier Surly sequence where he meets M in his office. So overall, this film ranks 12th for me in the series. Keep up the good work. Take care. Bye.
Hello, this is Alicia Walker calling with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. I was all in on this one. The pre-title sequence has become definitely one of my top 3 favorites. Love that we started with Madeleine's memory of the man in the mask. Then everything in Matera was great. The first time I saw the scene where they're in the Aston Martin and Prima is just firing into the window at Madeleine and the glass is cracking, Bond's just livid and Madeleine's begging him to do something, I thought, this movie is going to be so good. Then he puts her on the train and she makes you really feel her pain. I wasn't initially sold on their relationship in Spectre and wasn't sure I'd like that she's brought back for this movie, but she was fantastic. They absolutely got top-level acting from Léa Seydoux and Daniel Craig. No Time to Die took everything that I thought a Bond movie should never do, and they did it in a way that's, in my opinion, undeniably great. Felix dies, Blofeld dies, Bond has a daughter, Bond works against MI6 briefly, Bond, in the end, dies. Some of these things happen in the Fleming novels, so it's not completely groundbreaking, but it's still unexpected, to say the least. I think what allows me to fully appreciate No Time to Die is that there's still the promise of more James Bond in the future. It's not the end of the series, just the end of Daniel's Bond. And it's a great one.
Hello, boys. My name is Jamie Comet from just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Just wanted to say I love the podcast. I just found it. Been a Bond fan for years. Favorites of Living Daylights. Regarding the new movie, don't understand why everybody's up in arms. We knew the beginning. Now we know the end. Everything else is in the middle. Keep up the great work, boys. And from a good old Pennsylvania boy, love you. Take care.
Hello, Chris and Tom. This is LYNN-HOLLY here. Great podcast. This is my first time doing one of these, so I'll be short and sweet, as I've only got 90 seconds. Oh dear, I wasted 10 already. I have to say, for me, as a big James Bond film, this is one of the greatest Bond films of all time, if not the best Bond film of all time. I managed to avoid all spoilers, so I didn't know anything that was coming. When I heard that the premiere was originally going to be on Valentine's Day 2020, I instantly thought, oh no, they're going to kill him. Something really weird, creepy, and sinister about having a premiere on Valentine's Day. You think it's all going to be lovey-dovey and wonderful, and I think the complete opposite would happen. And of course, I was absolutely right. Even though I predicted his death, it still came as a big shock and a surprise to me. I sobbed like a child. I have to say, at the end of the film, I was uncontrollably sobbing. The last time I was like that was when my auntie died many, many years ago, and I'm still kind of in shock. I've seen it 3 times. I'm seeing it for a 4th time tomorrow. The cinema experience is magnificent. I think this is a classic Bond. I think this is our Goldfinger moment. People will be saying to us 20, 30 years down the line, my grandkids, my children will be saying, what was it like to watch No Time to Die in the cinema? Because it is that good. It ticked all of the boxes, and when We Have All the Time in the World kicked in at the end, that was such a surprise and a lovely little treat for Bond fans. I was an emotional wreck. I love your work. This is a great film. You've got to see it many times, but it's brilliant. Take care, boys. Well done. Keep up the good work.
Hello, this is Andy from Station A, Argentina, with my review of No Time to Die. I think it's a masterpiece. I really do. The only thing that ruins the film, and I have to say it, please don't F around with that gun barrel. When you thought that things couldn't get any worse with the Daniel Craig gun barrel, unfortunately they do. That is the word. A 5-year-old could have come out with a better gun barrel than that. Anyway, I don't know about that composer. Never heard of Zimmer. And unfortunately, I have to tell you, I don't know what his day job is, but I would advise him, please, Zimmer, don't give up the day job. You can kill off Felix Leiter. You could destroy the MI6 building. You can do, you could even kill off James Bond. Please don't F around with the gun barrel. Oh, I don't know. These people, these wet behind the ear art school students who, they come out with a C or C grade in art and think that they can do this. Other than that, this film is a masterpiece. I have to say this. But one last time, don't F around with the gun barrel.
Hi, my name's Adam. I just want to preface this really by saying that Casino Royale was not only my first Bond film that I saw when I was 5, it was also the first film I remember seeing that wasn't directly aimed at children or families. So it was majorly influential to me both as a person and a filmmaker, and obviously I've been a Bond fan ever since. So understandably, the Craig era is super important to me. I absolutely loved No Time to Die. I thought it was the best way to end Craig's tenure, and it felt really personal to me. I've just turned 20 and I've moved out of my parents' house, so it kind of feels as though Craig's Bond represents my whole childhood, and I'm saying goodbye to that part of my life in a very wishy-washy way. But I love the film in general. I love seeing Bond with Mathilde. Seeing him in those dad moments just makes my heart warm. Blofeld's death was stupid, obviously, and him and Safin really should have just swapped places because I had no idea what Safin wanted. Interestingly, Fukunaga said that he was writing really vague dialogue, so it could apply to a number of different things in the third act, like a choose-your-own-adventure novel. So I guess that explains part of that. But seeing Daniel die was something I will never forget and can hardly even think about without welling up. It was beautiful and heartbreaking. The way the missiles split off before they hit the island looked like fireworks was just amazing. But one of the things that no one seems to be talking about is the fact that it's not only that Bond can't have contact with Madeline and Mathilde, it's that he can't touch anyone, because the nanobots would move into, say, Q, for example, and then into M, and then eventually it would go through enough people and reach Madeline and Mathilde and kill them instantly. So the only way to ensure their safety was this self-sacrifice, which is why I reject the idea that it was cowardly or unnecessary. I loved it, and I can't wait to see what they do next with the franchise. Okay, bye.
Hi, James Bond Radio. This is Vicky Hodges from the Bond Room Unlocked. So here are my thoughts on No Time to Die. I thought it was beautifully shot. It had a strong supporting cast, especially the female roles. And Rami Malek absolutely thrived in the role of villain Safin. Also, Ana de Armas rocked in the role of Paloma, even though she needed far much more screen time. And I loved all the nods to past Bond films. That being said, I do think that Bond's character had dramatically changed. And I wish that they hadn't have used the song All the Time in the World for this particular film, as it belongs to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is such a special film for me. And I felt that the trailers showed all the best bits of the film. There wasn't really anything that we hadn't seen. But finally, I didn't like the ending, and my thoughts haven't changed on this after multiple viewings. Thanks, guys. It won't trouble my top 10.
Hi guys, Matt Robenheimer here. So I've seen No Time to Die twice now, and I liked the film on first viewing. I really liked the film on second viewing. To put it simply, I think No Time to Die is an absolutely first-rate Bond film, for the first 2 hours anyway. I think it's in the last 45 minutes that things become a little less convincing. But some of the things that jarred a bit on first viewing seemed better to me on the second watch. So I was expecting this type of an ending for Craig's tenure, although I wasn't exactly sure how they would go about it. I think in the end, I'd say I'm okay with it, but not fully sold on the ending yet. One thing I certainly didn't see coming was the Mathilde part of the story, and that was a nice surprise. It's all highly unusual for a Bond film, but I've always said that I like my Bond in many different flavors, and I think as a one-off, No Time to Die will stand out as like a singular and bold experiment that's been pulled off, I think, really well. I actually think it's ironic that the situation that we're in globally now that's forced this film to sit on the shelf for so long has quite a striking similarity to the predicament that Bond finds himself in at the end of the movie. Even if he survives the gunshots and the missile attack, he kind of still can't risk staying alive because eventually Heracles will find and kill his family unless he's like totally in isolation. So in that sense, I think the pandemic has kind of lent this aspect of Daniel Craig's finale a poignancy that I think might resonate for many years to come.
Hi. Well, I just watched No Time to Die again. It's an absolutely fantastic movie. The end, that just gets me every time. You know, the title sequence, amazing. I love the music, I love the title theme. Fantastic. All the action, Cuba, Paloma, Nomi, all amazing. Vehicles, top notch. Anyway, at the end, it's a real tearjerker. But I've got to believe that he survives. I see those missiles coming over, and they're hitting, and there's a little couple of flashes either side of his body. But he's on one of those silo roof doors, and that will then hopefully smash, and he'll fall right down, just like he did in the beginning of Spectre, and land in something that saves him. I'm hoping for the You Only Live Twice type ending of the novel, with amnesia and lovely Japanese lady coming to save him, trying to keep him for herself.
Hello lads, this is Owen Ling, and speaking about No Time to Die, No Time to Die as we say in Ireland. Largely inessential. The Craig arc ended quite nicely on Spectre, as Sam Mendes intended it. It As someone who'd gone from grieving the loss of their lover and their surrogate mother now finds that they find happiness in the idea, in the prospect of love, and the excitement of starting again with Madeline Swan. I don't think it was essential. This film wasn't essential to wrap up that storyline. We'd already seen it already resolved itself, and considering there was a fifth storyline, it really went out of its way to waste Spectre after committing a 4-film story arc to their final reveal, which was a bit of a waste of someone of Christoph Waltz's talent. And yeah, barring the fact that Craig probably looks the best he's ever done, the only other outstanding aspect of the film for me is Léa Seydoux, who really shows what a tremendous actor she is. Otherwise, it's fairly inessential, but it's Bond.
Hello, Tom. Hello, Chris. This is Kilian from Station G, Germany. Long-time listener, first-time caller. You asked for this. Now, I must say I left the cinema in a deep state of shock when I first saw No Time to Die. I felt like they just killed Santa Claus, which is a shame because up to Norway, I think the movie is very good. I'd have kept Felix alive and maybe have James tell him to look after Madeline and Mathilde before he dies. That would have been a great buddy move, I think. The biggest problem with the film for me is seeing a young child, Mathilde, here in the midst of gunfights and with this creepy villain. It is very, very unsettling and uncomfortable to watch for me, probably because I have a kid of that age. So this is where the movie goes downhill for me. And then you already mentioned, of course, the weak villain story here. Now, on my second viewing, the ending did make me weep like a baby, I must say, but it still didn't change my mind, and that didn't like it. It's not what I see in my Bond movies. So despite grabbing me emotionally, it's not what I wanted. I have a sneaky suspicion they've only made this ending to please Craig, but I think Bond should be bigger than the actor playing him. Thanks for the podcast. Keep up the great work. Cheers.
Hi, this is David from Station T in Texas. First time caller, long time listener. Just wanted to say that I really enjoyed No Time to Die. I thought it was a great send off for Daniel Craig. No matter what you think of the ending, I thought it was very well done, and that the Daniel Craig era gives a lot of depth to the character of James Bond that longtime Bond fans will have always understood from reading the Ian Fleming novels or being long-term fans of the film series, but that casual viewers wouldn't necessarily have, and that's something that Daniel Craig brought to the role. So I thought that this was a great way to send off his Bond. Looking forward to seeing what they do next. Also just wanted to say that I really enjoy the podcast. Keep up the good work. Cheers.
Hi Tom, hi Chris. So, No Time to Die. I love this one. I'm really glad that Daniel Craig came back for it. It really does wrap up things very nicely, and I think I just loved everything that was in it. That's kind of all I have to say about the film. I want to talk about where Bond goes from here now, though. You know, what does the death of Bond mean for this franchise? If the rumours of a period piece, if this is true, then I'm quite sad about this idea. I don't really know why a lot of fans seem to want this to happen. I think really it ultimately would just signal that James Bond isn't relevant to modern times. It kind of says that he's a relic of the Cold War. That's where he's best, and that's where he should stay. I hope this doesn't happen. I hope that they continue with the modern day and just keep true to the spirit of Fleming, but maybe also make them a bit more family friendly. I think that's where I'd like to see them go. I was also just thinking, about No Time to Die and, killing off Craig's Bond. It also kills our hopes of ever really seeing the classic Connery to Brosnan Bond ever again, I think. Going back to that original character now would be way too confusing. And it'd also treat Craig's films as a bit of an experimental detour rather than the real thing. Makes you wonder, though, what happened to that other fellow in the end? Maybe he's settled down now and he's retired with Jinx. He still sleeps with the gun under the pillow. Occasionally, he steps on a diamond that's gotten loose in the bedroom and swears out loud. What a thought.
Hi guys, this is Thomas from Christchurch, New Zealand. I just wanted to say that overall I really liked the film. I thought it looked great and the performances were all brilliant. And Madeline goes from being a pretty middling Bond girl to a pretty top tier one in my opinion. I think the plot is a little bit wobbly when looked closely. Possibly there were rewrites that affected previous scenes. For example, I wonder if when Safin releases Mathilde in that strange scene that originally he was using her to poison Bond. I also would have preferred if Safin had linked the concept of saving a life, meaning you now own it, to his grand plan, that by selecting one group to die and the other to live, that in his mind he effectively becomes the god of the survivors. And I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity and would have clarified why he was doing what he's doing. But it sounds like I'm very negative, but I really enjoyed it, and I've seen it twice now, and I'm planning on going a third time soon. So that's all. Great. Thanks.
Hi, James Bond Radio team. This is Matthew from Vancouver, Canada. This is the first time I've sent a message in. I thought No Time to Die is probably one of the best Bond films ever made. I think it's number 2 on my list after Majesty's now. I've seen it 4 times and it just gets better each time I see it. I thought the film had one of the strongest ensemble casts the Bond series has ever seen. Outstanding performances from Daniel Craig, Lea Seydoux, Ana de Armas and Lashana Lynch in particular. I thought the plot was fantastic, lots of different locations, really nice use of London throughout the film as well, which I always love, those MI6 bits routinely rather than just once off at the start of the film. And I actually really liked the ending that the film had. I know that it's probably controversial in terms of the fandom and obviously it's a unique take for the canon, but I think that it really needed that. We needed a Bond film that isn't so predictable. The other thing that I really enjoyed are the nods to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Really didn't like them at first, but now I think they suit the film well, and I also find it quite a nice homage perhaps to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as well. It's probably the last film that will come out during her lifetime of the Bond series, so I thought it was great. Overall, fantastic film, and it's number 2 on my list.
Benjamin here from New Zealand. Daniel Craig offers his best performance as James Bond in No Time to Die. He plays relaxed Bond, angry Bond, and fully in love Bond. Now, I was in the minority of people who appreciated Lea Seydoux' performance in Spectre, yet in this film she carries a huge amount of the emotional weight. She acts her socks off. I like Naomi a lot more than I thought I would. She was sassy and funny, and it helped that they dressed her like Roger Moore. Felix was the best he's been since License to Kill. Moneypenny seemed much closer to Maxwell here, and I love the fact that she was sipping wine with Bond at Q's apartment. I also love the fact that Bond was bunking at Q's place in London. We don't get a proper reason why Safin wants to release the virus except for people want oblivion. Maybe I'm too busy enjoying the cake that they're giving me, but I buy that. How many people would launch a nuke just because they could? I guarantee more than who would like to admit. Shout out to that nasty and filthy Bond riff Zimmer uses in Square Escape, Cuba Chase, and Opening the Doors. And the weaving of the title song throughout the film was done in masterful fashion, making it both romantic and heroic. I accept Bond becoming a family man. From Bond chopping up that apple to his daughter, to him tying his jersey around her neck, I'm there, believing it. And I'm okay with Bond's death, not on paper, but because Seydoux and Craig act their soul onto the screen and sell it. 5 things to want in Bond 26. A New Zealand-Australian setting, Henry Cavill, Martin Campbell, David Arnold, and Scuba Ninjas, please.
This is Mike McMahon in Canada. As the missiles flew towards the island, towards James Bond, who was just standing there, all hope lost, my daughter turned to me, tears streaming down her face, and said, "But then this is going to be my first and last James Bond movie in the theater." She wasn't so much crying because she was about to see James Bond die. She was crying for the death of her plans, the future in which each new James Bond movie would be a highly anticipated night out. How many times had she heard me telling the story of my first James Bond movie in the theater? How differently she probably imagined this one for her. I looked at the screen and saw the missile's fragment. "No, wait, look," I said to her, thinking that the rockets had somehow been destroyed and Bond would be saved. It wasn't to be. James Bond died. I told my daughter to wait until the end of the credits. It's going to say James Bond will return, but I wasn't even sure that was true, so we sat, eyes glued to the screen, and there it was, James Bond will return. As we left the theater, we were stunned, shell-shocked, and even though I saw the words I had hoped to see at the end of the credits, all I could say over and over again was, "But they can't do that." It was a tough film to process. I went back and watched it a second time, and knowing what was going to happen made it so much better. No Time to Die is a great movie. It's not what I wanted or expected, but I am glad I got it. After all, the James Bond movies always reflect the times they're made in, and what better reflection of the last few years than this? I am glad it wasn't the first James Bond movie I saw in the theater, though, and I kinda wish it wasn't my daughter's either.
No Time to Die is an awesome movie. Not just for how it gives a solid wrap-up to Daniel Craig's tenure as Bond, but what it says retrospectively about the whole Bond franchise in general. This whole movie is having a conversation with different movies, obviously to On Her Majesty's, commenting that how Bond is never destined to have a happy ending, and this is the closest thing he'll get to it, by knowing that he'll have something left behind with Madeline and his daughter, Mathilde. It's also a comment on Quantum of Solace. Dominic Green once said that Bond is reckless and that everything he touches seems to wither and die. And what Safin does to Bond at the end of this movie kind of personifies that. He'll end up harming Madeline and Mathilde if he touches them. So at least he'll have that quantum of solace, that little bit of comfort that in his death, they'll continue to live on. Daniel Craig's run has always been kind of a mix and match, but I love how he's managed to include some of the nuances from the other Bond actors. Kind of makes his run feel like a graphic novel compared to an ongoing comic book series where he's added a little bit of what's come before. And it's made his movies retrospectively a lot better for me, including other movies like For Your Eyes Only, where he does have a bit of that paternal aspect too.
Hi guys, Chris McCourt here from Scotland, leaving my 90-second review for James Bond. After my first viewing, I was gobsmacked. I couldn't believe what they'd done. They decided to kill off Bond. I thought it was extremely brave. It was different. It's something we'd never seen before. And as shown with Casino Royale, Bond works best when the producers take risks and try something new. I think when you play it safe, and you end up with a film like Spectre, which is just Bond by the numbers. It's the tropes and it's all the same old, and it gets a bit boring. I think the film will be immensely rewatchable. I've seen it twice again at the cinema, and if I can before it runs out, I'll go and see it another time. I think the soundtrack's great. I've been listening to that on Spotify, and I think the cast were great. Rami Malek was good. The Safin could have had a wee bit more to do, but yeah, I thought it was a really good film and a great way for Daniel Craig to bow out. I think now it's time to take another risk and set Bond in the 60s with a young unknown actor, ideally. Thanks guys, really enjoyed the coverage you've done of the film. It always adds to the excitement of a new release, knowing that we've got all the James Bond radio coverage coming. Right, cheers, bye bye.
Hello JBR, this is Enda from Dublin calling. Long time listener, first time caller. Here's my 90-second review of No Time to Die. The film is an excellent addition to the series, but I must admit it took a second viewing to reach this opinion. For me, it's the second best Craig film after Casino Royale, and it definitely sits in my top 10 overall. What did I not like about the film? I think we needed to learn a bit more about Safin to understand the character and his motives. The part where he let Mathilde walk away was bizarre. Oberchev was a bit too cartoony and annoying for my liking. He felt out of place in the film. Also, there were too many similarities to the Mission Impossible franchise, such as the villain's plot, the magnets, and driving to the C-17 at the airport. However, there was so much to enjoy. It has one of the best pre-title sequences ever. The Jamaica club scenes with Felix and Logan Ash are vivid. Cuba with Paloma is so entertaining. She's one of the best characters of the Craig era. The intensity of that stairwell scene, and of course the emotion of the ending. Overall, it's a very enjoyable film, well worth the wait, and a fitting end for Daniel Craig's Bond. Well done, Mr. Craig. The next fellow has a lot to live up to. Love the podcast, and keep up the good work, guys.
Hi, Chris and Tom. It's Don Zuiderman from the Netherlands. Firstly, thank you for your wonderful 30 days of No Time to Die. I really do appreciate how much time and work goes into creating something like that. Secondly, there's no way I can review No Time to Die in just 90 seconds. That will be absolutely crazy. 90 minutes wouldn't even be enough. In fact, and I'm not sure if you realize this, but in your first 3 weeks of October, you talked for 578 minutes, which is almost 10 hours about this film. So what can I say? Well, the moment I saw the climax of Wallace and Gromit's The Wrong Trousers playing on Madeline's little TV up in Norway, I knew I was in good hands. I bloody love No Time to Die. I think it's a masterpiece. And I have to admit, I'm now quite smitten with Madeline. But please don't tell my wife I said that, okay? Cheers, guys. Now, the long wait for Bond 26 begins.
Hello, it's Matthias here. I think it's a great movie, great acting, great locations, great camera work. The ending is very daring. I'm not fully on board with it, and I do have hope that Eon that they have a plan or planned it out how to continue and get out of this corner they put themselves in. But overall, I'm on board with the kid. It's all good, and I think they made a brave movie, and it worked out. On the other hand, I am found myself ever since watching it relating back to the John Gardner novels I haven't finished yet, to reading them. Sort of go back to James Bond comfort food to be more comfortable, I guess. So I know he doesn't die. Yeah. Anyways, hope to hear what all of you are thinking. I think it's a great movie.
Hi guys, Shami Olak here from West London. Love your channel. Watched every single episode. Keep up the great work. No Time to Die is a great film. It's made for our times, just perfect. Even the ending, well, it's this day and age, I suppose. All heroes end up dead nowadays. I think it's the most emotional and female-driven film of the series. Daniel Craig does a great job. The opening sequence is very good. Very, very romantic as well. Not as good as The Spy Who Loved Me or The Living Daylights, two of my all-time favorites. I didn't like the title song or what Hans Zimmer did with the music. Very lazy work. It's also the first Bond film that I cried in. Very emotional, especially at the end. Well, I am going to watch it a few more times. It's a great send-off for Mr. Craig. The next Bond film will have to be a period piece, I reckon, set in the 1960s. Well, they need to try it with at least one. They should get Jeremy Irons as M, Anthony Hopkins or Ben Kingsley as Blofeld. I reckon Christian Bale will make a great villain. Being an actor, I have auditioned twice for 2 different Bond films. Maybe I'll get lucky the 3rd time. Take care, Tommy and Chris. Love listening to you two, especially on long journeys. I feel like I'm traveling with 2 friends. Take care. Thank you.
I went into No Time to Die not having seen a single frame of footage, not having seen a trailer, hadn't even heard the Billie Eilish song. And it was great because I could experience all the twists and turns as they were happening without knowing any of the twists, without knowing any of the stunt sequences. I could even hear the song for the first time in context to the title sequence. I really enjoyed the film. I thought it had really strong direction. I loved the visual style, the dynamic range of the colours I thought really popped. I loved the sound design. The pre-title sequence is immediately one of my favourites. I loved the feel of horror atmosphere. It almost felt as if it was a slasher movie. Paloma was terrific. I really enjoyed her chemistry with Daniel Craig. A minor nitpick with her, I felt they could have played more of her quirkiness into the action sequences themselves. The moment she starts fighting and shooting, she immediately turns into a ninja, whereas I felt they could have played a bit more into her quirkiness, her playfulness, maybe similar to a sort of Jackie Chan sequence or something. But I thought she was terrific. I had some problems with the finale. It was a little bit unclear about who was trying to chase who was trying to escape the base, who was trying to do what, where. people were going. I was a little bit lost in that finale, but the actual ending with Bond, I didn't have a problem with. It felt as if it was a full stop from Eon and the previous 25 films prior. Roger and Sean are no longer around, so thematically, Bond is dead. It felt like a full stop.
Hello, JBR friends. This is Paul from Station C, Canada. Like a Shakespearean sonnet, Bond films have structural expectations. No Time to Die deviates from these expectations. Bond is retired, a father, and now it's his time to die. Will we remember these subversions of the formula with admiration, the way we now do with the denouement of Majesties? Or will we remember this unusual film with derision, such as the 1966 Casino Royale? I think the former. Bond 25 has flaws, but its strengths are mighty. What do I love? The magnificent pre-title sequence. Every exquisite second Paloma is on screen. Leia Sedu's performance. The scenes in Thirsty M's office, as well as Q's flat. Ash's comeuppance, a throwback to Roger. And the emotional, self-aware, sacrificial conclusion to Craig's tenure. What's wrong? It's too long, and I wish they cut Oberchev, just as I wish they cut Boris from GoldenEye. Fleming's Garden of Death should have been iconic. The film's glaring weakness is Safin, whose story feels like it was drafted by 3 or 4 writers who rarely communicated. Bond and Scaramanga know how to duel to the death on an island. Right now it ranks 11th out of 25 for me, just after Thunderball, and ahead of For Your Eyes Only. In times of COVID, I declare JBR an essential service. Bye!
Hi Tom and Chris, this is Ralphie Babes calling in from Hamburg, Germany, with my No Time to Die review. Before going into the first screening, I had only one wish, and that was whatever they would do, I didn't want them to kill Bond, because Bond to me is the man who can always defy death. He always has an escape plan. No matter how dire the situation is, he's always got an ace up his sleeve, using wits or gadgets to get out of the situation. So naturally, the ending completely crushed my hopes. I felt gutted. It wasn't what I wanted. I hated it. And to an extent clouded my entire perception of the film, and it was far outside my comfort zone when watching a Bond film. But then, after the initial shock, and after now 5 screenings, I think I can live with it, and I acknowledge that it's a fitting end for Craig's Bond, but not a fitting end for the Bond that I want to see in my Bond films. I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed the rest of the film, especially the pre-titles in Cuba. And Cuba is actually my favorite 15 minutes of all the Craig films. And even though I think there are many missed opportunities, like the Garden of Death or Blofeld, I guess I can look past them. And if you just don't think about the plot and suspend the dislike for the concept of Bond dying, I think it's a very solid Bond film. So just, when you watch it, don't think. Just let it happen.
Here's my review of No Time to Die. Madeline, I didn't like as much, but it didn't upset me as much. I would have preferred Kid or maybe kill her off. The child and Bond death scene I didn't like. I would have loved it, open-ended, like Inception. Like, he do this, did he do that? All towards speculation and theories, but that would be great. But I understand why they chose what they did. The Yule aspect I like, such as the garden, Safin being similar to the Dr. No, Kid and death scene I hated. People didn't like the aspect that much, but then, so why would they like it now? Safin villain, I love the backstories JVR eloquently explained. Was my favorite villain. Loved his scene in Madeline's speech with Bond is great, and that garden I would have done it the JBR way or alternative. Direct parts acted didn't like the scene meeting the Blofeld confrontation, so would have liked to see it differently. I like Ralph's M a lot more in the old M's, like his photo, all the whole MI6 crew. Logan Ash I hated. I would have preferred a different script for him. I hated he knew Bond. That makes no sense, and is this a nod to how people know Bond like a movie star? I loved their fight, and the whole scene was great. Felt too Mission Impossible to me, but didn't mind it. I love the Daniel Tackle rugby reference to the 2 films. One told by Q. I like Felix's death, and the whole underwater scene is great. I love Safin Lair. I love the Fleming nods with Bond, and the club scenes were great. Soundtrack felt average movie soundtrack. But yeah, that's my review, and I think overall it's a good movie. But I would take out the death scene and the funeral scene, but the death scene and the kid scene. But I think everything else I don't have a problem with. I guess Logan Ash you could take out as well. I think that character is kind of irritating to watch, and the double agent thing is too on the nose. But other than that, I really enjoyed it this time around, and it's not that bad of a movie as I thought it would be. But I think I had a good time with it.
Hey JBR, this is Frank McNeely from Tacoma, Washington with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Overall, I think No Time to Die is a brilliant film, and I liked it a lot more than Spectre. The pre-title sequence, I think, was genius. I mean, it was the longest one we ever had, but it did something new, and I think that the sequence of the DB5 was really exciting. I was on the edge of my seat, and Hans Zimmer's score perfectly accompanied it. I really liked the title sequence and Billie Eilish's song. I liked the song prior to seeing the film, and seeing it on screen with the title, or hearing it on screen with the title sequence, just doubled my love for it. Some other things I really liked the Cuba sequence. I really liked the scene in Q's flat, and I really liked Daniel Craig's performance as Bond. I think the way he interacted with like all the characters, quite frankly, was good, and I think that it kind of closes Daniel's Bond arc perfectly. Some things that I'm not so sure about. I'm not so sure about how Spectre, Blofeld, Felix Leiter, and how Bond's conclusion. I'm not so sure how I feel about that. That's all still sinking in. But I think that this film will be remembered for taking risks and for bringing new things. Okay, keep up the good work, JBR.
Hi Tom, hi Chris. It's Nick Grandvoyne from the Isle of Wight. Well, almost. I said when I was on the show that I played this game where I could either watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service as many times as I like, but could never watch the other 23 films again, or I could see the other 23 films as often as I like, but never see On Her Majesty's Secret Service again. I said I wasn't sure which way I'd jump. Well, now, if you added No Time to Die alongside On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I'd happily watch those two and not the other 23 for the rest of my days. After 52 years, the magnificent On Her Majesty's Secret Service now has a worthy partner. In fact, No Time to Die is a love letter to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. No other Bond films can match these two. They're superbly directed, look beautiful, have fantastic action sequences flowing naturally from the narrative, have high stakes where Bond has to save the world from a realistic threat, well, by Bond standards at least. They stretch what we expect from a Bond film almost to the point of destruction, and yet deliver all you'd ever want from 007. They expose Bond to a personal subplot, which ends tragically, and ultimately they leave you exhilarated, emotional, and awestruck. For me, the series could happily end right here on this high. I doubt we'll see the bar this high again, not in my time. So thank you, Barbara and Michael, for having the balls to do this. Rest in peace, 007.
Hi fellas, this is Ron in Coventry. Thanks for a really great show. I absolutely loved this film from start to finish. I think it's Daniel's second best after Casino. I totally loved the pre-credit sequence. I think it's awesome. Overall, I wish that they hadn't killed off Bond. In my head, I always wanted to think that there was some kind of continuity, that somehow Craig's Bond was also Connery's Bond, and the death makes that impossible. But I can see that killing him off was a really good artistic decision. It really closes Daniel Craig's story arc. And of course, it will make this the single most talked about and best remembered of the modern Bond films. And given the decision to kill Bond off, I think they did it in the best possible way. They really honoured Fleming with all those "you only live twice" references, the Japanese setting, Bond having a child, the quote from his obituary. I also like the score a lot. I know Chris called it generic, and I think it is generic in parts, but also in other parts it uses a lot of brass that sounds quite like John Barry, and there's quite a bit of the Bond theme in there, so I like it so much more than the Thomas Newman scores. You also questioned about that odd use of the On Her Majesty's theme at one point when Bond is just chatting to M. And it did strike me as odd at the time, but when I think about it, I think it may be an acknowledgement that the two plots are very similar. They're both about germ warfare. So at the point in the plot where they're acknowledging or giving a nod to that, they're using the music to emphasize the connections. That's in my head anyway. Thanks a lot, fellas.
Hey guys, Scott from Vegas here with my No Time to Die review, and in 3 words, I hated it. That ending is just not something I'm going to be able to get over. For the first hour or so, I loved it. It felt like kind of an awesome updated version of classic Bond with Spectre chasing him and trying to kill him, and the action was great, and it just felt like it was moving right along. And then something happened about an hour in. It just kind of took a 180. it got really slow and ponderous. They introduced the kid, which I was never on board with. And then ultimately there's that ending, which is just too much for me to deal with. I never thought I would see James Bond die. I never wanted to see James Bond die. And ultimately, that's why I have to say that I am just not on board with this movie. Now, to be fair, I've only seen it once. I've heard you guys say, and a lot of other people say, that it was really the second viewing that turned them around on it. So eventually, someday, I'm sure I'll get around to that second viewing, but I'm not anxious for it. I'm just not okay with that ending. Anyway, thank you guys for all your hard work. I love listening to the podcast. Keep them coming for years and years to come. Bye.
Hi, it's Matthew Khalil from Cape Town, South Africa. So they've tampered with the DNA and brought death and destruction to the Bondian universe. And I'm not talking about Safin and Orbachev, I'm talking about Daniel and Barbara. So filmmakers make choices, and there's some great choices in this film. There's a car chase in Italy with Bond who thinks he's been betrayed, delaying the gadgets till the last second. There's an innocent bystander on a Vespa reacting humorously to this chase, which is great to see that trope back. And there's the first callback to Majesties that left a tear in my eye, and well, then there's Paloma. But then there are all the bad choices, and there's no time to delve into all of them. You guys did a super great deep dive, and so I want to focus on what I think is the central terrible one. So the Christian myth of death and rebirth is what makes a god. It's got two parts, death and resurrection. Bond is not and has never been a sacrificial lamb. That half of the myth creates mortal heroes, at least it does, when the hero must die to save the world, but in this case, I'm sure Bond could have actually escaped into one of the many plot holes. The unique DNA of the Bond myth is resurrection. Even actors can be reincarnated as him. So killing Bond was a tragic error. The filmmakers must have been driven by deep psychological traumas to make this choice. We know that Daniel would rather slit his wrists than play Bond. Well, instead of slitting his own wrist, he's slit Bond's. And in Barbara's case, who knows, maybe daddy issues, I don't know. But whatever it was, they've made a critical error, and it makes reviewing this film almost impossible. It's left me spinning, but I know I'm not the only one. I reckon there's a grave in St. James's Parish Church in Swindon inhabited by a currently spinning dynamo named Fleming.
Hello, James Bond Radio. This is Bruce. When I first saw No Time to Die, it reminded me too much of Avengers Endgame, where, it takes place 5 years later after the prologue sequence. Both heroes, Bond and Iron Man, have a daughter, and then they sacrifice themselves at the end. So I found there was too many similarities between the movies, but I'm sure I'll be okay with it in time. I noticed with Bond's era with Daniel Craig is that it's not connected so much to the Quantum Spectre organization as it is through the various sacrifices. Like, Vesper dies in Casino Royale, Mathis dies in Quantum of Solace, Judi Dench's dies in Skyfall, and Mr. White dies in Spectre, but then Bond dies in No Time to Die. So I feel like, in a way, you can look back on these movies, even though they weren't planned. I feel like there's a road to No Time to Die with the various hero sacrifices that were made. It did kind of take me out of the movie No Time to Die when they kept doing references to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I wish they had done its own movie, because the moment I heard it was like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I knew that Bond was going to die, because they want to kill his girlfriend off again, or wife.
Hey JBR family, Jeremy McCumber, brother from Langley, Washington DC area, with my 90-second review, No Time to Die. Seen it twice in theaters, enjoyed it both times. First time the ending really got to me. Was stuck in my seat just with my jaw on the floor, not believing that they really did that. Of course, stayed to the very end to see James Bond will return. Second viewing, with more time to prepare, I definitely got emotional knowing what was going to happen and could process it better. Still don't know where the producers go from here, unless it's just a complete reboot. Though I still wish they hadn't killed him at the end. Overall, really enjoyed Craig's performance, though he was working on a different level in that Blofeld scene. He was definitely having fun. I still think Blofeld should have been busted out of prison by Dave Bautista. Would have been great seeing him come back. Overall, I think the problems with the movie just kind of go with, the villain character of Safin. I mean, I like Rami Malek, but I just think Purvis and Wade don't do well with the villains. I mean, going back to The World's Not Enough, only really Le Chiffre, just because that was more rooted already in Fleming. But overall, I think the movie will do well. I enjoyed it both times. And you guys are totally right. Craig tosses things in every movie. Love it, guys. Take care.
Hi, Tom and Chris. My name is Sam Holliday, and I'm from Gloucester in England, and this is the first time I've ever called. And I wanted to call to take part in the No Time to Review listener reviews and just say that I absolutely love this movie. I love the acting, I love the direction, I love the music, I love the style, I love the feel, and I really love the ambition of it. To end the way it did was simply stunning and left me and many people around me in tears or close to tears. It was that good. Look, I know as fans our opinions of films change by the day, but I've always had a top four really in various orders: Casino Royale, Skyfall, Goldfinger, and From Russia. It changes all the time. I think this is good enough to get in that top five now. I've now got 5 favourite Bond films because I just think this is that good. And looking forward, a lot of people think, where do we go from here? Well, let me make a prediction. I'm sure there's many others, and this will probably be just as wrong as the rest of them, but I've got a feeling they're going to go back to the 50s and 60s. Not to do the books again, but just to recreate Bond as a spy and just see where it takes them. And I also predict that the person who will take that role of Bond will be a complete unknown, a guy in his mid-30s that none of us know, none of us are speculating, to start the whole wonderful journey again. Thanks for listening. Thanks for an incredible podcast. It's been an absolute joy to listen to, and it's really got me through a lot of time. So thanks, guys. We'll speak again later, hopefully.
Hi, this is Thomas from Copenhagen, Denmark, with my review or my view on No Time to Die. I think it's probably the best Bond movie I ever saw. And I'm a Bond fan since 1983, when I was 8 years old. And I'm a Roger guy, but I really love the Daniel movies. I think he's phenomenal. I would say the movie, the ending, it really knocked me out and got me thinking. I've seen it twice now, and I actually have a feeling like you don't need to make any more Bond movies from now on. It's okay if it ends like this, but I know as a couple of weeks have gone since I last saw it, I've been thinking maybe they just need to take a long break and reboot the franchise, and I actually need to reboot myself. Speaking of Bond, it got it, and I think they should take some time before starting over. I could use the break too, so but I really loved it. Keep up the good work, guys, and yeah, bye.
Hi, I'm Mitchell from Canada, and in preparation for this movie, I watched all the Bond movies and their special features all the way from Dr. No, so I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. No Time to Die is a bit of an enigma to me. It's so different and chaotic and fresh. The producers set out to make a cinematic masterpiece. I'm not sure that they succeeded in doing that, but it felt as close as a James Bond movie could to get that. It was also a huge departure from every other Bond movie. It barely feels related at all. It feels more like a really long end credit scene or web series that's almost disconnected from the rest of the universe it was attached to. It's just a very confusing experience for a Bond fan like me. All that being said, I did enjoy the movie and I loved that Bond dies. That was the most appropriate send-off for this iteration of Bond, and the way they did it was spot on in my books. Safin was a mildly interesting villain, but it's definitely a weird setup where he does Bond's job for him in killing Spectre and is also somehow a villain. I think they could have written that better. I also think they mishandled Blofeld. Everything about Blofeld in this movie felt wrong to me. Overall, I'm still a little confused about how I feel about the villains because Rami Malek acted so good and Blofeld was written so poorly. I like the Madeline is a more fleshed out character now. They didn't do her justice in Spectre. This movie feels like an apology to the fans and Léa Seydoux for how badly she was written before. Overall, I felt like the producers made what they planned on making, and I congratulate them for not making it a huge dumpster fire like Star Wars turned into when they tried to spice things up. Looking forward to the next Bond film. Let's get on with it.
First viewing, shit. Second viewing, shit. Third viewing, shit. Fourth viewing, now that is the shit.
Hi, this is JBR00 Jack Lugo calling in with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. I really think this film gives us a tremendous send-off for Daniel Craig's Bond. There are so many things that I love about this film, even though it's not perfect. Here's a quick list of what I love. the locations, particularly Matera and Norway. I also loved the Cuba sequence with Paloma. The action set pieces were incredible. The dialogue was smart and witty where it needed to be, and it resonated with me on an emotional level. There are some heart-wrenching moments that really put me on an emotional journey, which I quite dig. Here's what I didn't quite like. I'm not crazy that the screenplay essentially lays the blame on M's doorstep. It would have been better if a foreign government had developed Heracles instead, and M's got wind of it and sent 007 Nomi to stop it, with James Bond joining the mission because of Madeline's involvement with Safin. I also think we needed to see more of Safin, and it would have been nice to show Bond getting lucky with a lady other than Madeline at some point. Overall, I give this film an A-. I just had an incredible time watching it. The few things that I nitpick don't detract from my enjoyment of the film. I feel like Daniel Craig's Bond exists within its own continuity, and I'm okay with that. I'm also looking forward to seeing where they go next with this franchise, of course. Thank you to Daniel Craig for your service and for giving us a James Bond character with a deeper, introspective, three-dimensional life. So thank you. I really enjoyed this film.
Hi, my name's David. I live in Fareham in Hampshire, which is in the United Kingdom, and this is my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Now, unfortunately, we don't have all the time in the world. We only have 90 seconds for this review, so let's get on to it. Well, before I start, really, I'd just like to let you know where I sit in my lovery of James Bond. My absolute favourite Bond by a mile is Roger Moore, and the arc of films from You Only Live Twice for Living Daylights are where it's at for me, for Bond. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Daniel, even though I quite like him. But with No Time to Die, I absolutely love this film. I love so much about it. Big highlights for me? Well, the great pre-title sequence. The fact that it lasts for 2 hours 45 minutes and you don't realise it's that long. I love all the throwbacks to You Only Live Twice and Majesties, and I could do with more of those. Love that they put the old bits in there or the theme of Majesties as well. What I don't like the theme song. I don't like the way they throw away the Poison Garden, and I don't like the way, yet again, they throw away Blofeld. But overall, I love this film. I especially love the last 10 to 15 minutes, and the little bit of Madeleine at the end is heartbreaking and beautiful, and the perfect ending for Daniel and his Bonds. So, where does this all fit? Well, it's a top 10 Bond for me, which is amazing considering what I've always liked in Bond. And my Daniel top 5 were number 5, Quantum of Solace, 4, Casino Royale, 3, Spectre, 2, Skyfall, and number 1, No Time to Die. Absolutely superb film, absolutely love it. And just remember, all you people who are saying they don't like this film, James Bond will return. Goodbye.
Hi, it's James Kirwan giving my 90-second review of No Time to Die. I have to keep looking to say that and not Die Another Day because the titles are so similar. I think it was a good part of the Bond franchise. After the first viewing, I didn't know if it was the best or the worst Bond film I've seen. And the second viewing, I think it's a very strong Bond film. It does feel slightly too long, although it's hard to know where to make cuts if you wanted to make cuts. So it doesn't feel like you are bored watching it or you're desperate to get out the cinema. I think the interesting thing is now, what do they do after this? Does it mean that the franchise is ended? In some ways, it wouldn't bother me. I could just enjoy the films they've done just now. I think what they do next is important. Are they going to reinvent the franchise, something better? Or is it going to drag on like a rock band playing its greatest hits? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Cheers.
Hey, Tom and Chris, this is your man in Minooka, Illinois, your brother stateside, Brian Quast, with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Overall, I love this film. I thought it was a great job, a great effort by Daniel, and a terrific way to send him off from the franchise. I don't mind the ending. I was a fan of it, in fact. I thought it was tastefully done. And I really like the use of We've Got All the Time in the World to close out the movie with a terrific song. It was a very nostalgic thing that I enjoyed. My only two critiques of it, on the negative side, were the length. I thought it was about a half hour too long. They could have tightened that film up a bit. And also the character Saffron. Come on, that was Dr. No. They chickened out. They went right up to the brink with the way he looked, the way he talked, dressed, his little fortress there at the end. Everything there just screamed Dr. No, and then they decided, nah, we're not going to do it this time, and that was total bollocks. Otherwise, I like the film, and I'm sorry to see Daniel go, but I can't wait for Henry Cavill. Get that guy a 5-film deal, and let's start this puppy up again in 2023. Until then, gentlemen, take care, be well, and bye!
Hello, boys. First time caller, long time listener. What do I think of No Time to Die? It's a bit of a mess, but throughout the whole thing, I had a big old smile on my face. There's just so much to like in this film. Fun set pieces, amazing score. I really liked it. And Daniel Stellar, as always. It's just so interesting to now to view these 5 films as one whole saga. Since Casino, it's been a hell of a roller coaster, hasn't it? But I'm glad that Daniel's going out on what I feel is a solid one. No Time to Die is just, in many ways, I feel like it's an amalgamation of the previous 4 Craig films. It's as if they put them all into a blender, and this is what came out. It's equal measures gritty yet bombastic. There's silly moments yet really serious emotional ones. And that just seems fitting for a last installment of a saga like this. It will definitely change how I view the other Craig films when I rewatch them. But what a run. My opinion, his tenure ranks up there with Connery as the 2 best. Now I just wonder, what are they going to do next? That's what we're all asking. Personally, I'd like to see a younger Bond, maybe starting out in the Navy. I think that would be pretty cool. Anyway, cheers, guys. Keep up the good work.
This is Shane Furlong calling in from Dublin with my No Time to Die review. I thought the film was brilliant and well worth the wait. It's a strange one because I think if you told me beforehand some of the decisions and talking points that arose in the film, I probably would have been against most of them. But personally, I thought the way they were executed was really great, and I admire the bravery of the filmmakers for not being afraid to try something new. I thought the tone they struck throughout the film was the right mix of kind of fun and serious for my liking. And yeah, the actors just really sold the whole thing. I think Craig was brilliant, Ben Whishaw was great, and Madeline was really good, and I didn't really enjoy her inspector too much. I really liked Rami Malek as Safin as well, and I'm glad they didn't have Blofeld as the main villain, because I've never really been a fan of Waltz's Blofeld too much personally. But I do think Savin's character felt a bit rushed, and even a few extra lines or a scene or two about his motivations and maybe a more visually impressive Garden of Death could have taken it kind of to the next step. But yeah, the film, it was a bit lacking in action for my liking, but I think the emotional nature of the story made up for it, and the higher stakes of the whole thing. I do think it's a fitting end for Daniel's Bond, and I'd say it's my second favourite of his after Casino. But I definitely understand how it's quite polarizing.
This is Richard Fish with my No Time to Die review. I don't think it's a surprise to tell people who know me that Daniel Craig has been my least favourite James Bond. And that's because I never really warmed to the style in the series, and it always felt like a different thing and not the James Bond that I'd grown up with. And I just think it took me a lot of time to kind of accept that. And I know that people now are having a similar experience with No Time to Die, or at least the ending of No Time to Die, whereas I've kind of had 15 years to come to terms with that. So I always thought of Daniel Craig's Bond as being this inferior thing that wasn't the product I loved. But I think watching No Time to Die, yeah, credit where it's due. Now, obviously, there's Bond films I grew up with that I might love more and mean more to me because they're part of what formed me growing up. But I think, if I'm being completely honest with myself, No Time to Die might be the best James Bond film. And it's the only Craig film that I've just loved, not loved, but.
Hey boys, Dave from Canada. I've seen the film 8 times now, and I absolutely loved it. First time I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. The end kind of threw me off there, but I've processed it and I'm accepting it now. I think it's in line with Fleming. Um, as he wrote, you only live twice, once when you're born, once when you look death right in the face, and we got that in No Time to Die. I'm excited to see what they do with the future. I like how the Craig era had its own continuity, a very definitive beginning and end, and I think that sets up the future quite nicely for a fresh start. Uh, and they can do whatever they wish in the new era. I love how the movie was infused with references to Bond's past and Fleming, and not only that, but the Greek mythology and the Roman mythology, as you guys have referenced. It was basically a modern retelling of the Odyssey, in which Homer or Bond is trying to make his way back home after many years at battle to his wife and his family, and there's suitors trying to take them, and basically Homer Bond has to return and just murder them with his bare hands, and that's what we got with No Time to Die. So I'm excited for the future, and I love the film. Cheers, boys! Keep up the great work. Over and out.
Hi guys, this is Gerardo Valero from Mexico City, or Isthmus City as it is known in Bond world. My reaction to No Time to Die was spookingly similar to Tom's. I was liking it until the end, at which point I found myself not knowing what to think and eventually felt disappointed. I left the theater depressed and couldn't think of anything Bond for a while. Then a couple of days went by and I decided to give the movie another go and liked it much, much more. I had never been able to like a movie that originally disappointed me, no matter how much I tried, until now. At the end, I can say I'm a fan of the ending and some of the choices the producers made. They have reached a point where they are overthinking Bond. No Bond movie should include such out-of-place words as I miss you, I love you, or where is my doo-doo? Stuffed animal. At the end, there's too much good stuff going on to dismiss the movie, especially the incredible Matera sequence. Still, my order of the Craig films is first Skyfall, Casino Royale, Spectre, No Time to Die, and finally Quantum. Like you, I hope next time around the producers go back to basics. Maybe add one of those aerial stunt sequences that we haven't had in a while. Have M give Bond his mission on one of those folders with a little window, get on with it. Oh, and also, I hope they stop killing established characters left and right. Otherwise, I would be very worried if I were Q or Muddy Penny. Thanks.
Hey, this is Ambus Hunter calling in from Baltimore, Maryland. So there I was, sitting in the theater during opening weekend, watching the credits roll in shock, disgust, not quite sure how else to feel about what I just witnessed. And then, I spent the rest of the evening ranting to my date about everything I hated about the film. A couple of weeks later, saw the movie again, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I can't explain the magic of the second viewing, but everything I hated about the film in the first watch just poof went away in the second. For me, I think I just didn't know how to process that first viewing. I had different expectations. I got something I wasn't expecting. It made me uncomfortable, and I didn't know how to feel about it. And often when experiencing discomfort, it's easy to interpret that experience as negative. But I must say, I've never seen a Bond film that made me pause and think as much as No Time to Die. And yes, it made me cry like a big old baby. Very bold choices made by Eon, but I think they made the right film to end Daniel's run. By the way, I love the music score, mainly because it incorporates the theme song throughout the score, which to me, that's something you have to have in a Bond score. So overall, I'm very pleased with the film, and I'm so grateful for what Daniel Craig brought to the role of Bond James Bond. On to new beginnings. Bye!
Hi, this is a listener review for No Time to Die. My name is Bernie Atema. I live in Hinton, Iowa, USA. I'm 67 years old. The first Bond movie I saw was Goldfinger in 1964 when I was 10. After the credits rolled on No Time to Die, I thought, well, this is not a movie I'm going to own. But an hour later at home, I realized I was mainly troubled by Bond's death, but realized that being infected, he probably had nothing, or felt that he had nothing to live for without his family. And after seeing it a second time, I have fully embraced the film and think that it's excellent. Like many others, I try to fit all the Bond movies into a chronology, but I now think that, like Superman or Batman, that the 5-part Daniel series is a standalone arc, not some parallel or alternate universe, but a James Bond arc all of its own. And I do agree with Tom and Chris that I hope the next Bond films are missions much like they were in the 60s through the 90s without origin stories. Finally, I want to say that I've listened to every episode of James Bond Radio. I love JBR. Tom and Chris, thank you, and all the others that help you out for your love of Bond.
Hi guys, this is Jack Sharman phoning in for my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Overall, I absolutely love the film. I love the fact it's an epic scale, the locations look amazing. I think it could probably be Daniel's best performance as Bond. Definitely, I think it gives the most variety because you've got those heavy emotional moments, but also I think there's a lot of lighter and more comedic moments that he has that are probably the most of the series, maybe at the exception of Spectre, I suppose. I think the chemistry between him and Léa Seydoux is a huge improvement on what we see in Spectre. I think it's much more believable, especially them together in that pre-titles. It really does have echoes of when Bond's been with Tracy and Vesper in the past, I think. I really like Hans Zimmer's music. It's definitely grown on me after listening to it quite a bit since the film's come out. All the regulars, MQ, Moneypenny, Tanner, I think they all deliver great performances. And obviously, as everyone said, the Cuba sequence with Paloma is just one of the best, my most favourite sequences in Bond ever, really. The ending, obviously it's controversial. I think I could have taken it a different way, but equally, I can understand and accept that that's probably the way that Daniel's films were going to end, and it kind of fits that sequence well. So I'm happy to go with that, and it doesn't in any way detract from my enjoying the rest of the film. I think it's great. I think Safin's maybe a little bit of a weakness, but the film is what I wanted and more. I really loved it. Thanks, guys.
Hi lads, Jamie from Ireland here. Just wanted to share a few thoughts about No Time to Die. So I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I thought the pre-title sequence was fantastic. Great use of the Aston, phenomenal music. The chemistry between Bond and Madeline I thought was, even in the pre-title, was superior to anything in Spectre. Music was fantastic. Loved the use of the Majesty's theme. The main song itself, I thought that was fine. It grew on me a lot more seeing it with the titles. I thought that Jamaica, Cuba was brilliantly done. Loved hanging out with Bond in Jamaica. Cuba, then Ana de Armas, fantastic. I would have liked to have seen more of her. I love the fun and energy of the movie. It's not dour and serious. There are good one-liners throughout, nice little funny moments. Safin, while not my favourite villain of the franchise, I thought he was fine. The ending, now, if Pierce's last movie had ended like this, I would have taken issue. I'd be far more precious about that Connery to Pierce line. But for the Craig movies, I kind of, they are a separate entity to that original run. And as an ending to Craig's run, I thought that it was quite fitting. And a wonderful end to his tenure. Yeah. Thanks, lads. Really enjoy the show. Thank you.
Hello, this is Richard, Mrs. Overall's son. I remember Hans Zimmer being announced and my heart sinking because I thought it was going to be dark, long, brooding and pompous, not the score, the whole film. Song came out, confirmed that. Minimalist, ever so classy, extremely boring. Film started, brilliant. I thought it's got all these lovely Bond pleasures that I wanted. A rich melodic score, proper thrilling action and beautifully crafted comedy, plenty of panache, and small-scale moments of thriller stuff, like with the shooting of the glass, that pack in more suspense than in many, many planes crashing into building action scenes. Really barely put a foot wrong until it did. And then it put them really wrong because that island scene is just dog shit. It's like willfully confusing. Not only does it not tell you stuff, it points you in the wrong direction with the garden and then the robots and then the tea that does something but not, the girl that you want to keep but then let go, the speech, the bombs, the vial of Madeleine's juice that you don't really see going. It felt like it all could have been fixed if they just give it a little bit longer in edit, step back, all fixable in editing, or just hire Stuart Baird because he really knows what he's doing and he sorted it properly on Skyfall and Casino, and they didn't have these problems. Thankfully, Daniel Craig and Lea Seydoux are so good and real and likeable that they pull it back, and once the final ascent begins, delivers that brilliant ending that felt so shocking and unthinkable, and yet immediately afterwards felt inevitable, and a great, perfect ending to this era of Bond. Glad it's over though.
I've seen all the Bond films over the years, as my two sons and now teenage grandson, having all been reared on Bond. I enjoyed all the links to the older films, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, GoldenEye, along with the cars, and how this one was a continuation and a conclusion to all of Daniel's previous Bonds. I like that. I thought the new CIA agent Paloma was brilliant. I'm not sure I would be keen on a female 007 though. The stunt scenes were amazing. Soundtrack was excellent. I'm a fan of Hans Zimmer and some of the other movie soundtracks he has done, so I thought this must be good, and as my grandson is a big Billie Eilish fan, he was well impressed. I got a little bit lost towards the end on the island, and I had actually guessed the ending but didn't think it was possible. They had made such a big thing of it being Daniel's last outing, I thought that this was the only way it could end. I've been to see the film twice now and have to admit I did shed a few tears on the second viewing when it actually sunk in what had just happened. I think Daniel Craig has been an excellent Bond, a real close second to my favourite, Timothy Dalton, and you thought this old lady would have said Sean Connery. It was a long wait, but well worth it. A big thumbs up from me, and I look forward to what happens next, and if I ever will get the part playing his old housekeeper May. Haha. Thank you.
Hi guys, this is Christoph from Germany. Love your podcast and loved No Time to Die after the second viewing. I was shell-shocked after the first one. I guess it's a fitting end to Daniel's tenure, and killing his Bond has the huge benefit that things like the awful Blofeld half-brother story now only belong to one parallel universe. I love Daniel's portrayal of the character, but I don't want my James Bond to fall in love all the time. I don't want M to die in his arms. I don't want the main villain to be motivated by a personal vendetta against one British agent. I hope they move on from that in the reboot. I think No Time to Die is one of the most epic Bond movies. It has fantastic action set pieces, plenty of humor, and the plot twists are amazing. However, the movie won't rank near the top for me because it also is flawed. Nomi is dispensable, has cringy lines, and gets easily outshone by Paloma, who might be around my top 5 Bond women in the whole franchise. The biggest problem of the movie is the convoluted plot that lacks explanations about Safin and the setting of the final act. My proposal to fix it is that Blofeld escapes and is the real mastermind. He wants to kill millions of people. It's his poisonous garden where he infects Bond and Bond kills him. Safin should have been his henchman, morphing him, Primo, and Obrochev. He would have been killed by the nanobots, maybe because Felix Leiter sacrificed himself while in the last second switching their DNA code when Safin tries to kill Bond. Also, with Blofeld being the main opponent, there would have been no need to fabricate a personal connection between Safin, Madeleine, and Bond, and you could have just opened the movie with Matera.
Hi, Jamie here in Sweden, sending my 90-second review for No Time to Die. I loved the car chase at the beginning. I thought it was really good fun. It had that old Bond feel, but it was also intense. And I just loved when Bond leaves Madeleine in the train at the end. It just felt really good Bond. I loved the Jamaica stuff. I loved all the Cuba stuff. Ana Llamas is just fantastic in it. She was, and I don't just mean by the looks. Her personality, everything about her was just really well done. And then a lot of the film goes downhill for me. At the time when I saw it the first time, it didn't bother me as much. But the more I think about it, the more it has bothered me. Felix's death just feels like they just decided to kill him just for the sake of killing him. It does not have the emotional feel for me as it does in License to Kill when he gets hurt. Blofeld's death feels like a wet fart. It really should have been him at the end, I feel. I feel they should have really stuck with that and gone with Spectre and Blofeld. And it should have been him with his arm being broken and then Bond screaming, "Die, Blofeld, die." That would have been, it would have been a lot more. And he felt menacing in the beginning. Bond's death just feels like Daniel Craig dying. And the whole plot just feels very muddled, and I just wish they'd focus more on story and less on character. Thanks, guys.
Hi, JBR family. This is Marlene from Station E, Edinburgh. Oh my, where do I even begin with my review for No Time to Die? I feel so much when it comes to this movie, and I can't possibly distill everything down to 90 seconds, but I'll try. What I love, the flashback to Madeline's childhood, Sefin in the mask, the scene on the frozen lake, everything. The Matera car chase, the Cuba scene, Paloma, hello. Felix, the DB5 with machine guns, the V8 with the old license plates, the Q scene, Q in the field, Sefin's menace in the poison garden. All of these aspects are great, but I have to say, I'm still getting over the ending. I knew it had been rumored before that they might kill him, but I never thought they'd actually go for it. Rationally, I see what they were trying to do with the arc of Daniel's 5 films, although I wish they'd planned them out from the start. But emotionally, I'm still working through it. I was one of the people who cried at the Friday morning, that Friday morning at the IMAX, and I'm still getting over it a little bit. Overall, it's a good movie, but that ending definitely scarred me a bit. And No Time to Die is probably a mid-tier Daniel for me after Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace.
Hi guys, this is Matt calling from London. I'm a real fan of Daniel Craig. I think his best films are up there with the best in the series for me. And the first hour of No Time to Die, I think, is among the best in the series. The pre-credits, I think, is fantastic. I love Cuba, I love Jamaica, and this is where they should be going for me with the contemporary Bond. You know, it's fast, there's a nippy script, there's real chemistry between the characters. But the film turns on a sixpence, my feelings towards it, the last 20 minutes. I absolutely do not understand the thinking behind killing James Bond. I hate the idea of it. I hated it the first time I saw it. And I came out of the cinema just baffled, just resentful about the whole thing, to be honest. I think we're kind of losing what makes him unique. I'm tired of hearing how Bond is old and irrelevant and a relic of the past. It was kind of cute and different at first, but this is like the third, fourth film we've been hearing about it. I miss the sophistication that we used to have. I want Bond to walk into somewhere, order a Bollinger, order some food, and win at cards, because nobody else does that. No other character can do that. Yeah, I just think as soon as he dies, then you've lost something unique about this character. I don't understand how does him dying make this a more satisfying film than if he survives? I don't mind Bond being fallible, by all means, but I do mind him being a failure. It just doesn't feel like escapism anymore. But I did really enjoy that first hour. So anyway, that's my review. Thanks, guys, and keep up the good work.
Hi, Julian here from England, currently on a balcony in Tenerife. And it was a really fantastic experience at the premiere. Loved every minute. Thank you so much to everyone that made that happen. In terms of watching the film, it reminded me very much of seeing Licence to Kill back in '89 and coming out of the cinema being very disappointed at this different Bond film that didn't fit what I was looking for. So in terms of the second viewing, very different experience. Loved all of the locations and the way it all fitted together. Loved the humour. I thought the action sequences were all really good, unlike Spectre's, which just didn't really work for me. And I could kind of forgive some of the plot gaps or the lack of Safin's motivation. Most of the film made sense. So overall, I'm putting it third behind Casino and Skyfall, but a really strong ending for Daniel Craig's run, and what a brilliant time we've had over the years watching these films. Just so cool. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I enjoyed No Time to Die. I just want to make the world a little tidier.
This is Christopher Payne from Chicago. I love this film. It's exciting, fresh, and deeply moving as a Bond picture. A successful blend of emotion, suspense, and action. Cary Fukunaga and his team bring together all the elements of top-notch filmcraft. Inventive and compelling direction, exquisite cinematography, remarkable pacing that doesn't lag from start to finish, creative sound design, a moving score, impressive Ken Adams-style sets, and some of the best acting from Daniel Craig in his tenure as Bond. Not to mention a powerful performance from Léa Seydoux. The entire pre-title sequence is creative and fresh, placing you within a young Madeline in Norway and within Bond in Matera. I love the extensive shots of sunrises and sunsets and use of light throughout the movie. Two of my favorites are the sunrise as Bond writes his note to Vesper in Matera, and the bright light that envelops Madeline and Mathilde as they drift away from Safin's island in the boat at the end. Two pleasant surprises for me are the title song and Rami Malek's portrayal of Safin. At first, I didn't really care for the title song, but after seeing the film once and listening to the soundtrack the whole way through, it all clicked, and now it's one of my favorites. And after each repeat viewing of the film, Rami Malek's performance of Safin grows and moves more prominently to the forefront of the picture. I really like No Time to Die.
Now then, Agent Bootle from Station L, Lancashire. So we waited 6 years for No Time to Die, and what do we get? Well, I don't think I've anticipated a Bond film as much since Octopussy in '83. And what made this all the better was watching it and experiencing it with the JBR family. So thank you to all you out there who were there with me. Now, what do I think of the film? I love it. I really do. I really enjoy it. I think the production values are outstanding. The cinematography, the sound design, the costumes. I love the music. I love when it harks back to Majesty's. I think that's great. I play around a little bit with the story. I'm not too sure why the Saffron character wants to monkey around and kill people all over the world. And I'd make Blofeld the principal villain. I'd make Saffron a number 2. I think Blofeld should have administered the poison. That would make it much stronger, much stronger. So it's the end of the Daniel series of films, as Daniel Hark, and we've had a golden age of bondage. So on to something new. Some people say 60s reboot. I'd love to see that personally, but let's see. And for all those out there who knock the film and say, "Oh, James Bond shouldn't die. Oh, yeah, that's back to on His Majesty's Secret Service. Oh, it's too woke." But just remember, there's no CGI kite surfing scene in this film, and if that had been done, it would have been shit. And this isn't shit, it's good. It's not good, it's great. It's not great, I think it's fabulous. So there, this is a fabulous film. Bye!
Hi, this is Matt from Chicago, Illinois, also known as the 00 section on Twitter. Long story short, I absolutely adored No Time to Die. I thought it was an excellent, excellent Bond movie. The ending I mentally prepared myself for after all the comparisons in 2017, 2018 to the movie Logan and the original title being A Reason to Die. I thought if they were going to kill Bond off, they really did a well done job, and they really did give him a reason to die, which maybe should have been the title. But I thought the highlight of the film for me was Daniel Craig's performance. If any Bond was going to get any sort of reward recognition, it should be him. I guess we'll see what happens. The action was terrific. The pre-title sequence, the Cuba sequence especially, the foggy Norway forest stuff, it was all great. Hans Zimmer's score is a pleasure to listen to, especially after the disappointment of Thomas Newman's score in Spectre. I thought the only real flaw, like everyone else has said, is Safin's plan was a little underutilized, even though I really did enjoy Rami Malek's performance, and the scene between him and Bond meeting up was really, really well done. So I have seen it 3 times. I am looking forward to seeing it a 4th time. I'm excited to see where the series goes. But for now, we have a wonderful, wonderful Bond movie to enjoy. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Hi, this is Brett Vanderberg from Hamburg with my No Time to Die review. I went in spoiled against my will about Bond's fate, and I didn't think I would like the movie very much. I'm a big fan of Spectre, and while I think a lot of people were hoping this movie would redeem Spectre, I was kind of hoping it wouldn't screw up one of my favorite movies, and it didn't at all. It was fantastic. It marries the grittier, more serious Daniel Craig Bond with kind of some of the more bonkers, fun, traditional Bond elements. Very, very well. It's remarkable that one movie can have both Q hacking Blofeld's bionic eye and the Norway scenes between Bond and Madeline, which are of a completely different style, without the whole thing kind of falling apart or feeling jarring in any way. I thought the whole movie felt good. 2 hours, 43 minutes flew by like nothing. Daniel gave one of the best performances of any Bond actor ever, and the things I loved from Spectre were even better this time, Blofeld and Madeline, and I think maybe they even improved for people who didn't enjoy that movie so much. So, great film. Bring back Harry next time. Thanks. Bye.
James Crawford Clark with my 90-second No Time to Die review. My anticipation for this film was off the charts after my disappointment with Spectre, but I'm pleased to say that after the first viewing I was happy that Craig's Bond got the finale his tenure deserved. Zippy pacing, stunning locations with a welcome though brief return to Jamaica, and a really classic scene with Ana de Armas in Cuba that reminded me of proper old school Bond. A top 5 pre-title sequence, a below par title design, an undercooked Nomi, an underused though brilliantly sinister Rami Malek, and plenty of action and standout series moments and callbacks. Hans Zimmer's score is effective, with Matera, Home and Final Ascent being highlights, as well as a wonderful weaving of Billie Eilish's title song melody throughout. The ending is still a puzzler, though more troublesome is Madeleine's cheesy dialogue with Mathilde in the Aston V8 and the inclusion of Louis Armstrong's full "We Have All the Time in the World" over the end credits. I've come to appreciate it over more recent viewings, but I do wonder where they're going to take Bond next. Staying until the end of the credits to see those 4 immortal words, "James Bond will return," seem to make any doubts disappear. Daniel Craig, you've been a superb 6th 007 that fans are going to remember as the $1 billion Bond. Thanks Tom and Chris for the brilliant No Time to Die content and being as fantastic in person when I finally got to meet you guys in London to share my Bond thoughts with you. Keep on keeping the British end up.
Hi, Luke from the Netherlands here. Well, I've seen the movie twice now, in vanilla 2D and fancy laser 4K 3D. After seeing the ending of the movie for the first time, I thought, okay, what just happened? Did they really just do that? I felt very disoriented. And my next thought was, funnily enough, can we have a more fun Bond-like Die Another Day for once, please? Which is a funny thought, since I wasn't and still am not a fan of Die Another Day. No Time to Die starts amazingly. The intro, the music, it has it all. Up until the end of Cuba, this movie is as good as it gets in my view. It was gunning for my personal #1 spot. The only thing that I noticed was that the Bond theme is very forgettable to me. I've heard it 2 times now, and it just doesn't keep hanging. The problems I have with this movie are mainly the tone and story, especially the last half hour that sticks out. In hindsight, I don't know why this movie has Blofeld and Lucifer, what I could have done this story with just one of them. Also, the last hour feels like a movie that was cut together by a lot of people, all giving their input and opinion, so the tone is all over the place, which makes it an uneasy viewer experience. You know, it's been said that next to GoldenEye, Pierce never got a really good script or solid movie to work with, and whether you believe that or not, I do sense a bit of déjà vu with the Craig-era Bond movies. Casino Royale for me is the only one where they really got it all right. Not one movie after that one can deliver it all in the same package. I think that Tenet in some places managed to be more of a Bond movie than this one, especially because it's not some personal story for once. It could have been worse, but bring on the next Bond.
Hi there, this is James from New York City, just 2 blocks away from the Voodoo Shop. This is my first 90-second review. I'm not going to get too in-depth. I just want to say that I really just fell in love with all of the nods to the past, because it really just showed me what I already knew, that the Bond universe is like the richest, most amazing cinematic universe there is. Like Star Wars, Star Trek, all that other bullshit is nothing compared to this franchise, and the love from its fans and from Barbara and Michael and even Daniel this time around was just really is just a beautiful thing. And I hope that Tom and Chris, I hope you guys know that you are part of what makes that special for me and for everybody here. We're blessed that you guys kind of carry this torch for us, and I just wanted to say thank you. So yeah, I really love the movie. I mean, there's holes. The Saffin Byers was a big blech, but man, I just loved it all. I love the music, and Leah Seydoux was just tremendous. Thanks.
Hi guys, Alan Shenton here from South London with my No Time to Die 90-second review. Okay, here goes. Can't lie, I came out of the cinema, first viewing, feeling very flat, mainly because of Bond dying. Would have preferred a cliffhanger of is he dead or not, exactly like Fleming's novel from Russia with Love. So I was disappointed when he died, and still am, to be honest. I'm currently thinking Daniel Craig has been a bit vain here, making this about him and not Bond. On my second viewing, I enjoyed it more and welled up at the end, actually. I'm seeing it again tomorrow for the third time, and I'm sure my love for it will increase when I spot new things. The Bond films I love the most have great dialogue and a spy element to them. This film didn't have much spying. Bond is pretty much going with the flow. Having said this, there is some good dialogue and some great action scenes, and the pre-title sequence is in my top 5. Final quick thoughts. Soundtrack. Wish there were more unique scores which characterise the film. Not sure why they had to kill off Felix Leiter. Like Safin a lot. And 50-50 with main Blofeld scene. Nomi I found a little irritating, but Q and M were brilliant. And I love the Fleming quote at the end. Okay, think that's it. Probably forgotten loads. Cracking podcast, lads. Keep up the fantastic work. Good night.
Hi Tom and Chris, it's Rory Mackenzie from Edinburgh here with my 90-second No Time to Die review. In short, I loved the movie. Highlights for me were the beautifully shot scenes in Matera, which is a very Bondian location, that incredible car chase, and the look on Bond's face as the sound of those bullets thudding into the windows of the DB5 in the square. I mean, wow. The sadness and emotion, especially on repeat viewings as the train pulls away from Bond in the station, especially now that we know what happens next. The Cuba scenes. I don't think we've ever seen Daniel look like he's enjoyed himself quite as much as Bond as he does in this sequence. Throw Paloma into the mix, and we can probably see why. I also got strong Roger vibes when watching this part of the movie, so what's not to love about that? And finally, the raw emotional punch of the climax of the film. I reckon we all took some time to process that last 20 minutes, whether we loved the movie or not. I also really enjoyed a number of the music cues in the film, and my theory as to why the Majesty's music is playing in the M and Bond scene is that it's at the very point that M is officially bringing Bond back on Her Majesty's Secret Service, as it were. Just a thought. Thanks so much for your 30 days of time, guys. These podcasts have really enhanced my enjoyment of the film, and JBR continues to be absolutely essential listening.
Hi, it's Rob Smith from Leatherhead in Surrey. I've been on a real journey with this film. I've seen it 4 times. First time, I hated it, and it made me really angry. Second time, I still hated it. Third time, it grew on me. Fourth time, I loved it. My main 2 issues with this film were the whole family thing and the ending. Regarding the family thing, I just felt that Bond doesn't hanker after family life. It's not in his DNA, and it just didn't sit comfortably with me at all. However, I discussed this with fellow JBR family members who pointed out that in Majesty's, at the end, Tracy says, I have an idea about that. 3 girls, 3 boys. Pleased? And Bond says, not bad for a start. And then, of course, she says, first a boy and then a girl. And earlier on in the barn, he says, I'll have to find something else to do. So the more I thought about Majesty's, the more I could accept the events of this film. The whole death thing, that I still have an issue with that. But the more I thought about the family thing and the path that he had chosen, the more I could accept the death. And so really it's quite a beautiful film and quite a beautiful ending. So I've gone full circle.
Hello, JBR. Greg here from the Baseball and Whatever podcast. No Time to Die probably won't be remembered as the best of the Craig films, but it is without a doubt my favorite in his storyline. Hell, I even started clapping myself when I saw the Dr. No dots at the beginning of the title sequence. My wife looked over to me and said, "Nothing is happening." I replied, "60s Bond stuff is happening, dear. Give me as much of it as you can. I'll take as much Majesty score as there is. Quite frankly, I feel blessed to hear Barry's music again for a new Bond movie on the big screen." A couple things I could do without. The whole Blofeld scene, that storyline was just a waste. Thanks for that, Spectre. And Tom, I agree with you. I didn't care for Bond's apology moment with Safin, or even most of the dialogue between him and Madeline. I just don't buy it from Daniel in those scenes. I'm fine with Bond having a daughter. Thought it was a nice touch. I have daughters, so now there's something Bondian about me. And of course, Bond staring down those missiles coming down on him. What a way to go out like a hero. To me, that last expression we see on his face looks like he finally found that quantum of solace.
Hey guys, Hunter Browning Station at Florida. Let's get right into this. So I think overall, above average for Daniels for me, not quite as good as Casino or Quantum. Quantum's still my number 2. I know, fight me. Lots of brilliant ideas. Unfortunately, I don't think they were fully developed. This movie definitely suffers from too many cooks in the kitchen syndrome for me. The last third of the film was very weak, as well as the villains. Getting into the good, best score since David Arnold. That's not very difficult in my book. Sorry, JW. Film very pretty to look at, good on the eyes, fantastic locations, big fan of that. The opening, Matera, absolutely brilliant, one of the best opening pre-title sequences in the series for me. The story about Blofeld setting Madeline up to think she betrayed Bond, absolutely fantastic. Wish they went into that more. The ending with Bond dying, perfect for Daniel Craig's run. And Matilde and Madeline in the Aston Martin, absolutely brilliant. Still don't know how I feel about the Majesty's theme. Getting into the bad, worst gun barrel in the entire series. Even die another day's better than this. The villain's absolute trash. I have no idea what Safran's plan was. Yeah, he was played well and he's creepy. Wish he was explored more. Blofeld completely wasted, beating a dead horse there. Primo, absolute trash villain. Zawa's better. Jar Jar Borat, that scientist, we don't even want to talk about it. Terrible. Weak showdown. Tomorrow Never Dies. Did it better in the end. Where is Daniel Craig's naval uniform? They absolutely could have pulled that in somewhere with the naval base. Worst thing for me in the entire film was M. They absolutely destroyed his character. Complete disgrace. He should be a good guy, not whatever the hell they did with him. Overall, good film. Got to see it again. Cheers, boys.
Hello, JBR. This is a 90-second review of No Time to Die. Overall, this film left me shaken but not stirred. The things that I enjoyed, I think the technical aspects of the film are really strong in terms of cinematography, the way it looks. The editing, the direction is all really top-notch. The acting is great. Madeline Swan is a standout. Paloma is another great character. And so I enjoyed all of that. I think the action overall was really good. The things that didn't sit well for me. Enough with the Majesty's callbacks. It was way too much in your face. I didn't like all the stuff in the score. Come up with your own theme. Quit using the Majesty's theme. I think the title song was good, but not great. Kleiman's titles were okay, but not his best. Some of the action sequences actually left me a little underwhelmed. I feel like the pre-title sequence car chase was cut short, and the car chase in Norway was a total dud. But all the stuff in Cuba was great. Paloma was great. But as much as I love Paloma, it felt like it should have been Bond and Felix in on that mission, because then it would have made his death more of an emotional punch. I think Safran was a super weak villain. It should have been Blofeld. His death was handled completely mishandled. It should have been Blofeld and Bond at the end with the big garden death showdown. And then we get to the end, and the plots just doesn't make sense. And ultimately, Bond's death feels like a suicide and not a sacrifice. So ultimately, I was just disappointed by this one, which is unfortunate.
What's up, brothers? Decided that you said you wanted to hear from other people around the world, so calling from upstate New York, USA. Heard your No Time to Die 30 Days. I started reading the books a couple of years ago, and I would like to point out that technically James Bond may die, depending on your opinion, in From Russia with Love. And in Moonraker, he loves Elsa Brand and wishes that he could be with her, so he is a little bitch in that book as well. So while I don't like the end of No Time to Die, it doesn't stray that far from Fleming. This is Trevor from upstate New York. Don't need 90 seconds or preparation. Peace!
Hi Tom and Chris, it's your boy Buki from the UK with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Initially I wasn't sure about the film as there was just so much to unpack and digest, which I think was a sentiment from the other JBR crew that I met that night. But subsequently, having reviewed it a few more times, I can say this is a really solid Bond film and up there as one of my favourite Bond films. I thought the pre-title sequence was brilliant. The beginning of the film, especially the Jamaica scene, the Cuba scene, and MI6 were great. A very good pace to those scenes. I love the nods to the past Bond films, which is always good to see. I think the climatic climatic scene, I felt the pace could have been slightly quickened with it, although there was some really good stuff in there, especially Bond's turn and shoot in the tunnel, and then just seeing from Bond's perspective him firing at the henchman towards the end of the film, I thought were really good. I think the jury's slightly out on Safin as a top villain, but I think over time, I think he'll be up there. I felt Blofeld's Jeff was a bit underwhelming given his status in the Bond series, but overall, I thought it was a really good, solid effort, and I really enjoyed the Majesty's theme weaving in throughout the film. So overall, great effort, thumbs up.
Hi, this is David from Station F Falkirk calling in with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Overall, I've thoroughly enjoyed the film. I thought that the action, for one, was stepped up a notch compared to Spectre. I thought that Fukunaga's direction was pretty decent. I thought that some of the decisions that they made in terms of the going against the formula compared to previous films was very brave, especially what they've done with Bond at the end. I felt that you've got to kind of go against the grain in terms of making different decisions. I do, however, feel that in terms of the Blofeld character, I felt that he should have been the main villain. I was hoping that he would be broken out by Mr. Hanks from Belmarsh, and at the same time he would be trying to take down Safin the same time as Bond on the island at the end, and then it'll be a Bond versus Blofeld confrontation in the Garden of Death, just like it was in You Only Live Twice. And I would have liked to have seen perhaps the two armies fighting against each other, with the bad guys and the good guys, just like like an old school kind of Connery You Only Live Twice, or like a You Spy Love Me sort of showdown. But yeah, brilliant film, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to see what they do next. Thanks, bye bye.
Hi, this is Fraser Lockley with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Yeah, it was my first Bond premiere. I went in completely dark, as most of you will know, and it was a bit of a shock. I kind of came out there just stunned, not knowing how to process it. Felt a little bit kind of down, and you know, as Brian will point out, that's not an experience you normally get coming out of a Bond film. You normally come out walking high. But up till the point of the sort of the closing, you know, when Bond actually dies, I thought it rattled along, and I really enjoyed it. Some great stuff in it. The material scenes were beautiful. There's some new stuff, some things we haven't seen before. Everyone loves the Cuba scenes. The classic Bond, really good. And yeah, I kind of felt that character was unused, and probably could have perhaps mixed a little bit with the Nomi character and had her feature more, but I can see why they didn't do that. Loved the Fleming references, and you know, the whole thing about being in Jamaica. Oh man, brilliant. But yeah, the ending kind of bummed me out a little bit, and subsequent viewers, I've sort of enjoyed it for what it is. Yeah, roll on 26. Okay. Oh, and I love the theme as well. Cheers. Bye.
Oh, hello there. This is Chris Ripley. I am an author, and I just wanted to share my thoughts of No Time to Die, which I nearly said Die Another Day, which is how I put this in the ranking of Bond films, is I absolutely dislike this film. These are the reasons. I've made a list. 3 hours long. If you can't tell a story in 90 minutes, why does it need to be 3 hours? Because it obviously told us lots of things. It showed us all the main plot points. It even, most of the action for that early scene in Italy was all shown in the trailer. It tried to make it into an MCU, kind of tying everything that happened in the past, all the different Daniel Craig films. But you know, do we need all that? You know, retconning all of the Spectre stuff that we established in the previous film. I mean, the fact that Spectre themselves were meant to be everywhere. That Mr. White said, you know, they was in every organisation, every government. But you know, send them to Cuba and have a birthday party, and you know, kill them all instantly. You know, what a great thing. 3 villains? I mean, do we need 3 villains and a fake hero? Wouldn't it have been a better idea if M was the villain? That would be the ultimate twist, you know? I mean, he's always played a villain on screen. Why not play another villain? Plot holes, Safin's motivation. What's that all about? The dialogue, awful. Saying that the film title in the dialogue, how awful. Anti-Bond, can't sign him in, kill him off at the end. I mean, did they really, really dislike Bond that much? Anyway, that's my 90 seconds.
I absolutely love the film. I love how it goes out of your comfort zone and what you expect of a Bond film. It's great to see Bond's human and emotional side. Pre-title sequence, best in the entire series. Goes where no Bond film has before. Bit of horror, instantly gives the new villain a fear factor whilst giving us some backstory on Madeline. Matera is stunning. The instrumental of All the Time in the World leaves me overcome with emotion right from the off. This is the DB5's greatest hour. Cinematography is incredible. The snow in Norway, the shots of Safin approaching with music playing, brilliant. The lighting on the boat with Felix is very visceral and gorgeously shot scene. Jamaica looks incredible. I think the casting's spot on. Billy Magnuson's an absolute prick as Logan Ash. Nomi was great, not at all annoying like we were expecting as well. Malik is amazing at playing a creepy Safin. And the final scene, absolutely heartbreaking. Bawled my eyes out as soon as he got on the blower with Q. It was an absolute wreck. As a father, it's so relatable. I love the direction from Newt Fukunaga. I'd love to have him back for the next film. If not him, then Martin Campbell, obviously. Hans Zimmer's score just keeps on getting better with every listen. Final Ascent as an emotional piece, and that bombastic Bond theme during the Cuba scene is pump your fist brilliant. Overall, this goes just behind Casino Royale for me personally, and I'm loving the show. Keep those episodes coming, guys. Thanks.
My name is Talani, and my message is from the UK. I thought No Time to Die was a fantastic way to end the Daniel Craig tenure. In my mind, the Daniel Craig tenure is a separate animal of itself, away from the traditional Bond series. And they started off bravely in Casino Royale, and I thought they ended bravely in No Time to Die. I think the Daniel Craig series, more than the rest of the films, are very much ones for the fans. Daniel Craig was fantastic in No Time to Die. He took brave decisions with the character and probably went deeper than we've seen before. Great theme song. The supporting MI6 cast are all great in their roles. Mandolin, Swan, and Blofeld are improved drastically from the first from Spectre. A low point for me is probably the nanobots plot. That could have just been a virus plot, and suffering could have been expanded more. But all in all, I thought it was probably the third best of the Daniel Craig films. Casino Royale was definitely number one, Skyfall number two, then Spectre after No Time to Die, and then Quantum of Solace. Sad to see Daniel Craig go, but a great way to end the series, and can't wait to see what happens next for Bond.
Hello, Tom, Chris, JBR family. This is Terrence Leahy from Station Iowa, US, calling in with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. This film was obviously one of the most anticipated movies of the past several years, and I think that it really delivered. The film isn't perfect, but I think that the main takeaway anyone can say about it is the best Bond film for any Bond to end on. I love the Cuba sequence. It is amazing. It's everything you could want from a Bond film. Paloma may be my favorite Bond girl that Bond doesn't sleep with. The Matera scenes are absolutely amazing. I definitely buy the romance between Madeline and Bond more. Safin is an underdeveloped villain that reminds me more of a Marvel villain than anything else, where we're not really contributing too much to his story so that we can follow the hero more. Overall, Daniel Craig sells his performance in this movie. It's absolutely amazing, and I enjoyed it. I've only seen it once, but I was able to walk out of the theater going, I enjoyed this movie. It has flaws, but it was definitely worth the wait. Until next time, gentlemen, this has been Agent 00T, signing off.
This is Hunter Jamison from New Zealand calling in with my review of No Time to Die. I've only seen the movie once, and the reason why I've only seen it once is because the day I went to see it, my town got put into lockdown, so I haven't had a chance to see it for a second time, and I'm dying to. But as with my thoughts on the movie, I loved it. I thought it was a very satisfying conclusion to Daniel Craig's run as Bond. It was a film that challenged me, but there was also some classic Bond moments. Everything in Cuba is fantastic. Ana de Armas was amazing. I loved her in it. And I thought Madeline Swan was really, really great as well. She's one of my favourite Bond girls now. But at the end of the day, this is Daniel Craig's movie, and we all come to Bond with this kind of sentimentality that no matter what happens in our lives, through the ups and downs, Bond films are always there. And Daniel Craig has been Bond since I was 7 years old, so he's been Bond for most of my life. And it was really, really tough seeing him go. His final ascent really got me. There were a few tears, and all I could say was thank you. Just thank you, because I couldn't have asked for a better Bond to grow up with.
Hello, James Bond Radio. My name is John. I'm here with some thoughts on No Time to Die. I've seen the film 3 times, not entirely sure I processed everything just yet, but for the most part, I'm quite pleased with what we have here. Entertaining and pretty moving. From the gun barrel with no blood pouring down the screen, to the opening sequence that shows us how the leading lady became who she is, all the way down to thoroughly killing off the man himself. No Time to Die is an anomaly to cap off a 5-film run that was anomalous. Does fall a little short in some areas where the Daniel Craig era fell a little short. I would like more time with Bond and Felix to better sell that I had a brother, his name was Felix Leiter line, but Craig and Wright, they have the camaraderie, they sell it. Would have liked more and better use of Blofeld and Spectre, but I actually like the sort of Blofeld as Hannibal Lecter thing. Bond and Madeline were never the most convincing love story, but where this film takes a relationship, which is really its crux, made for a satisfying emotional trajectory. I have a tenuous hold on Sappin's motivation and on how the virus works, but at least the character is a compelling creeper. Every reference to On Her Majesty's that we heard, from the We Have All the Time in the World line to that theme tune, had my jaw practically hanging open in the theater as I thought, where are we going with this? What are we playing at? To hear that song played in full at the end was really something. I think Madeline's final line is fantastic. I think this might just be Daniel Craig's best performance in the part. All right, cheers. Glad to have discovered the podcast.
Hi, this is Mark Hernandez from the Nene Valley with my 90-second thoughts on No Time to Die. I've seen the film now 4 times at the cinema in different formats, and I keep doing donuts, going round and round about how I feel about the film. I think ultimately I quite like it, up to 2 hours 15 minutes, because the plot, the characters, the action, and the dialogue is really engaging. It's quite exciting and really watchable. But the moment we get to Saffin Island, it feels more like a Marvel movie than a Bond film. I think Q should have put them in a 2-person Acrostar jet sub that he'd built rather than this CGI whirlybird thing. And we should have had a proper Garden of Death rather than this poison garden that was more like something you get in a garden centre you visit on a bank holiday. And yeah, why couldn't we have had Saffin in a samurai outfit? You know, follow the UN of Twice, novel, storyline a little bit closer. Perhaps he could have explained that it belonged to his father before him, and that could have been part of the final showdown. No problems with that Daniel Craig wanted to, kill off his version of Bond in this. That's fine, but as I said, I think there's a better way that they could have got to that point in it. But there we are. It doesn't really matter what I think, I suppose. But those are my thoughts, and I'll leave it there.
Hi, I'm Adam, first-time caller, first-time reviewer from Leeds in Yorkshire. I see No Time to Die in a way that someone might see an enema. Time-consuming, somewhat painful, strangely pleasurable, mildly humiliating, but sometimes necessary. I also recognise that other Bond fans will just think it's shit. This film lets go of a lot and creates space for what is to come. I'd like a 60s, 70s period piece myself, but it also celebrates the past in really clever ways. As a Roger Timmy D fan, I see a lot from their eras being honoured. The whole seaplane sequence reminds me of Licence to Kill. I enjoy Paloma. Her rookie status tips a wink to Rosie Carver and Mary Goodnight, but corrects the slight done to them by making her shit hot as well as just smoking hot. As she drives into the scaffolding to capture Obruchev, I swear I hear Sir Rog saying, "Cuban builders." On Obruchev, what a buffoon! An annoying cross between Borat and Willie Thorne. Saffin's not great either. His unfinished base, do criminal masterminds go to IKEA these days, is symbolic of a main villain who just isn't cooked properly. In his swan song, Roger became a kind of dad to Melina and Stacey, but let's be honest, a slightly creepy wicked uncle as well. Daniel, however, has a real 5-year-old on his hands, and he's a star in a reasonably priced car, and I get why that's uncomfortable for some. As for me, I'm a dad in my mid-40s, and I like it that Bond has been brought into my world. It's a nice payoff for all the years I've fantasised about being in his.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Andries and I'm in Belgium. My review in 90 seconds of No Time to Die. I've seen it 3 times so far, planning a 4th viewing. I actually think I'm in love with this movie. The pre-titles are absolutely terrifying and you can see that Madeline is devastated at the end of them. The title song lyrics absolutely match the feelings Bond would have after the pre-titles. Safin is a proper villain. I believe he's obsessed with Madeline in such a way that he thinks he's in love with her, which makes him an utter creep and explains a lot of his doings in the movie. Of course, there are parts I'm not entirely satisfied with, like the Hercules raid in London, which is a bit too much like Mission Impossible for my taste. Felix Leiter should not have died, and I'm not a fan of the killing of the Blofeld scene in Belmarsh. Safin's background, plan, and base should have gotten more attention, but this is completely compensated by the interactions between Bond and M, between Bond and Q, and between Bond and Paloma. The braveness of Madeline and Mathilde, the soundtrack, which I adore, especially the Matera part, the scenes with Mathilde in peril, which are absolutely frightening if you have a young toddler of the same age as Mathilde. This is absolutely a story worth of the Fleming's Bond, and in his world, a 00 cannot love someone without actually bringing them in peril. He cannot enjoy the quiet life. So the death of Bond is absolutely justified. Bond is dead. Long live Bond.
My name is James Toomey, and this is my 90-second review of No Time to Die. I thought the score was absolutely excellent, and I thought Hans Zimmer did a fantastic job with that. I have to say that Daniel Craig played an absolutely excellent character as James Bond this year. He was more mature, I thought, and I thought it was absolutely excellent. What else now? I love the scene in Matera. I thought that was great, and the music to it was good. I love the character Primo, whatever his name is. I thought he was great. And I love the first scene with the mask, and when it comes to the house and it appears at the window, I thought that was class. What else did I like? I liked the farm, and I also liked Q's house. I thought that was a funny scene, and I enjoyed the way he was kind of like on the computer, and I actually would have preferred if that scene went on for a bit longer. What else did I like? I really liked the end, the island, Safin's Island. I thought it was really well designed, and I really liked the poison garden and the factory. They were both really good and really easy to imagine. I have to say I'm not a massive fan of the ending because it was a bit kind of, I don't know, but what they're going to do now that James Bond is dead, and they showed him dead with the life support gone and the missiles coming down, and you can see them crashing in front of him, and then the screen goes. But I have to say I really enjoyed the movie, 5 stars, and I think it's Craig's second best one. Casino Royale, then No Time to Die, then Skyfall, then Spectre, then Quantum of Solace. Thanks.
Hi Tom, hi Chris, it's Tom Barwick here, sending in a review of No Time to Die. It's clear from having listened to your review and seen other reviews online on social media, this is incredibly divisive. A lot of people don't like it, a lot of people really like it. I'm very much in the positive camp on this. I think that this is a very, very good Bond film. It's not a perfect one, but the good far outweighs the bad. So just a few things to point out. I think that probably the weakest point is some of the writing maybe just needed a little bit of polishing. Maybe there were too many hands on it. The plotting by the end is a little bit convoluted. On the other hand, the acting is brilliant. I think that the direction, the set design, and the cinematography are all fantastic. I think that the acting by everybody is brilliant in it, and I would also say that whatever shortcomings there are overcome by the acting in it. So overall, I came out of the film. Both times I've seen it, and I'm going to see it again this week. But both.
Hello there, Agent Golden Voice here. So No Time to Die. What did I think? Good film. Enjoyed it very much. Straight into the top third, certainly. Maybe the top 10, maybe even higher. Who knows? Certainly a good movie with excellent music, great cinematography, great style, set pieces. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Good movie, well worth the wait. Chris was dead right about the Greek mythology angle, and I think there's more to be dug out there. Garden of Death I enjoyed. Not all of those plants were in fact poisonous. There were some that were, like Japanese anemones, and of course the foxgloves, and one or two others I spotted, but there were several there that are definitely not poisonous, so that's a bit odd, but never mind. For the future, let's go, as I said in my Spectre review 6 years ago, when I was interviewed on that, in 30 Days of Spectre, let's go way, way back, and let's go for a reboot, I suppose. Back to the 50s would be my preference, maybe even the 40s, just post-war. Let's see Bond on a ship as a commander with the MI6 team, same actors, just cast back in time. Let's just see, Moneypenny dressed in late 40s kit, the whole team there, and, no electronic gadgets, and let's just reset, go back. And it's got to be Aidan Turner.
The name's Blonde, medium blonde. Okay, here we go. Cue the panoramic, over-brightened and over-coloured scenes. Cue the miraculous bullet-dodging Bond. Cue the miraculous car chase battles. Matilda in back of car seat, seatbelt removed, and sitting on lap of Madeline. What the hell? Bond side-smashing multiple Land Rovers without getting taken out himself. Hey, don't make any violent moves with your car. Meh. Safin, sideways staring at people doesn't make you look evil. It just makes them think how undramatic your makeup is. The opening scene with Madeline is very good and typical James Bond movie style, and yet the ice lake scene is bizarre for more than one reason. One, Madeline is just 10 years old when she runs over the ice and it cracks very severely. When Safin follows her onto the ice, he doesn't fall in, or even make the crack split even more. Hand grenades. Don't they tend to burst your eardrums, not just give you tinnitus? Don't they tend to blow off parts of your body? The ending, so predictable from the start of the film. No sense of shock or surprise from me. The line, "You've got all the time in the world," is bizarre to me. Either she should respond, "I don't flippin' care, I want you to be with us," or he should say, "You've got all the time in the world, but I've got no bloody time left whatsoever." Cue the HMS theme tune. Cheesy, inappropriate, and boring.
Hey, it's Mitchell Wool, and No Time to Die absolutely blew me away. Do I wish, for example, characters like Felix and Safin were more fleshed out? Yes, but the movie's 2 hours, 40 minutes as it is, and I just don't think making it even longer was feasible. I didn't love the Blofeld retcon in Spectre either, but I love the fact that No Time to Die didn't shy away from its predecessor. By continuing the story already laid out, they elevated the series as a whole to create what I consider to be a perfect 5-film arc, even though the films themselves are not perfect. I wish there was at least more open-mindedness regarding the ending. Bond can't die. Why? They can't reboot the character now. They will and always have. Our innocence is intact, I promise. Daniel Craig is still very much James Bond. He's simply a Bond who grew up and embraced human connection. Seeing him at peace, knowing his loved ones were safe, was very moving. And while killing Bond again may be a total non-starter, the possibility of that raises the stakes for every future adventure. Basically, if after 60 years and 25 films we still bristle at any formula change, then why are we still doing this? I'm certainly in favor of a less gritty tone and storytelling going forward, but unfortunately the Bond a lot of fans want, Cold War plots and blatant misogyny, it's just dated in today's world. There is nothing wrong with loving the films and performances of past Bonds, but if the franchise is going to continue for another 60 years, the time to embrace change is now.
Hi Tom, Chris, Sean O'Hare here, leaving a 90-second review for No Time to Die. Overall, the film was very good. I actually enjoyed it. It's just the ending that doesn't sit right with me. Going from the start, the gun barrel, not actually keen on the gun barrel, to be honest with you. I just want the old style gun barrel back. Pre-title sequence, this is excellent. Madeline's dream was very well done, and then the Matura sequences were brilliant. I actually think it's probably one of the best car sequences in the entire series, to be honest with you. The way the Aston Martin spun around them streets was brilliant. Bond, then the break into the facility was very good, and it was great to see Felix back again. However, the Cuba sequences seem out of place with the tone of the movie. Just the sort of more like comic relief compared to the rest of the film. Again, when Bond's meeting Blofeld, it doesn't work for me. Daniel doesn't actually seem to be playing Bond in the scenes. It's very strange the way he played the scene. I really like the MI6 interactions throughout the film, and then the Norway scenes again, excellent. Love the jeep chase, and then in the forest as well. However, when we get to the Poison Island, this is where the film begins to fall away from me. I don't understand the Saffron plot. The Poison Garden was definitely a wasted opportunity. And then ultimately, the end of the film, Bond's death. Sorry, but Bond doesn't die for me. That's the way I enjoy my Bonds. Look, overall, I enjoyed the film. It's just the end and doesn't sit right for me. Look, folks, thanks very much for the 90 days review of No Time Today. Keep up the good work. Good luck.
Hey everybody, Jack Taylor calling from Chicago. No Time to Die. Really enjoyed this film. It's just outside of my top 10. It's amazing how well they balance this uncharted territory of Bond and these traditional ingredients that we all love. You know, the suits, the gadgets, the cars, even the Bond theme is sprinkled in the score. To me, this feels the most like a Pierce Brosnan film out of all of Daniel Craig's. I think he's a little bit more expressive in his performance. He seems to be enjoying himself very much. You have henchmen with physical deformities. You've got plenty of one-liners. What I love most is the climax, right? It's a proper invasion of a villain lair, and seeing two double O's heading into the mission together, absolutely incredible. We haven't seen that since GoldenEye in the pre-title sequence with Trevelyan. On top of that, you have all these international powers involved. This disputed territorial waters, right? The Russian MiGs buzzing Q. It's very much Tomorrow Never Dies to me. For Daniel Craig, I think it's the perfect send-off. It's very, very tragic to see him getting a taste of his future. And just like Tracy, right? As Tracy says, all I ever wanted, a future. And I think the same applies to Bond here. And he gets a small taste of it, just as Tracy did, and it's kind of snatched away. It's really heartbreaking seeing his arc come to an end like this, and seeing our beloved hero killed off. But I think for Daniel Craig's Bond, it works. Wouldn't work with anyone else but Daniel. Thank you.
Hello, this is Paul Lally in Dublin. Here are my 2 cents. I'll give Action and Paloma both 10 out of 10. The plot, I'm still kind of working on, haven't truly figured it out yet. Bond having a family, I'll give 9 out of 10 with notes, must do better than peeling an apple to feed a child. Emotional power, 120,000 out of 10. The act of self-sacrifice, well, the audience can be the judge if you like that or not. But the characters and the fans that Bond leaves behind are grieving so hard for our beloved hero. During that moment, he's able to tell Madeleine about his love for her and Mathilde. He gets to protect them. He's also able to accept his fate. His purpose is clear, and he's in control, and his death has true meaning. Fleming said of Bond that he is hard, ruthless, and fatalistic, and that he's quite prepared to sacrifice his life to save the people he cares for. For some, this will be the most appropriate ending to Craig's tenure as Bond. For others, the overdue end of the gritty reboot series. One thing is certain, no one will be laughing at this Bond as campy caricature, or this film as out of touch. We've got depth and texture in spades, and Bond is relevant. So however he goes forward, ironically, being dead has put Bond in a really good place.
Hello, my name is Arlington Somerset. I thought it was an incredibly good James Bond film, and I thought Daniel Craig was amazing in it.
Hey guys, Scott Powell here, co-host on Bomb by Numbers. Originally, I'm from Canada, but I'm currently living in Scotland and loving life and work here. Been a big fan of JBR for years. You guys just do some fantastic work, and I always look forward to the episodes. Been loving your 30 Days of No Time to Die, and just a little chip in here with some opinions of my own. Yeah, the problem for me with the movie, I loved the visuals. I loved the sound editing particularly. I thought it was one of the best in the series, definitely the best in Craig's. The action is great. The locations are fantastic. And I really did buy into that relationship of Bond and Madeline. Bond as a dad, you see the way he peels that apple. He's meant for parenthood. But I really did have a problem with how they brought the Bond character to an end. I just can't get over it. Having seen the film a couple times now, I really didn't like how Nomi's character is just so agency driven, and she's so great until she just accepts what Bond says and takes Madeline and Mathilde away there in that little raft, a little speed raft. She should have stood up and told Bond, no, man, I got to finish this job. You get in there. You got something to live for now. You got something to fight for, and you got a reason to be happy. I would love to have seen a happy ending for this Bond. But hey, we don't get everything we want, and Craig was behind it 100%. Keep up the great work, guys. Love the show.
Hey, guys. Hope I'm getting this in time. Thoughts on No Time to Die. It's
really like the best of times and worst of times for Bond, for me. I think all of the new stuff it brings to the table, really good. Like Fukunaga's direction, Denchik and Magnuson is like the really slimy henchman. Ana de Armas, even Zimmer's score, I thought had some fun flair to it. I love all the Cuba stuff like everyone else, and really just the overall pacing of the first act. The problem for me is when it tries to double down and be Spectre 2. Like the whole middle portion of the movie in London was just awful. Waltz's Blofeld still doesn't work for me, and it feels like he eats up time that should have belonged to Rami Malek's villain instead. Even M was kind of a jerk, I thought, and really, if you think about it, the whole plot of the film is his fault to begin with. It also doesn't really make sense that after the whole C debacle of the last film, he would be responsible for creating such a program in the first place. Of course, the ending of the film, like everyone else is saying, didn't really feel justified or even fitting with what came before. Everyone in my theater just left confused. So overall, a real mixed bag, honestly.
Hello, Tom and Chris. This is Matthias Hansen from Sweden. First-time caller, but long-time listener. Big fan of the podcast. I wanted to call in and give you my 2 cents on Another Way to Die. Tomorrow Never Dies. Live and Let Die. Die Another Day. No Time to Die. Yeah, so the title is a bit generic and, as it turns out, also quite misleading. So far, I've only seen the movie once, so it's hard to say 100% sure how I feel about it. But as of right now, it's not a movie that I hate. It's also not a movie that I love. It sits somewhere in the middle. My main problem with the movie is probably the plot. Not really sure if I fully understand the whole nanobots virus thing. What drives Safin to do it? Who are the people coming to buy the virus at the end? It's all a bit unclear to me. There's a simulation on how the world map gets spread over by the virus, but why and when? Not too sure about it. It's quite a controversial movie, I guess. Felix Leiter dies. Blofeld dies, James Bond becomes the father, and then James Bond dies. I mean, you should have a strong opinion about this movie, so it's quite odd that I don't. But hopefully, with time, I will love it, as I've loved On Her Majesty's Secret Service, who's my favorite movie. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Hi, Max from London. I absolutely love No Time to Die. I think it's a fantastic Bond, and I'm finding it hard to separate from Casino Royale and Skyfall. I think we have some of the best scenes we saw in the Craig era, with Madeira, Jamaica, Cuba, and Norway all brilliant, and all backed by a great soundtrack. Add in Paloma, the scientist, Q at his best, and the supporting cast were really strong here. Whilst in total shock about the ending, I thought they did it well. When M is speaking to HMS Dragon, I really couldn't believe they were going to go through with it. Final Ascent really makes the final scenes for me. 2 things that bug me. I don't know why they had to throw in a head fake with Madeline saying that Mathilde wasn't his. And second, I don't think they needed to kill off Felix and Blofeld given the shocking finish. But overall, a great Bond, and I really think that Craig has put himself at the top with Connery above the others. I don't understand hate for this film. Ultimately, you have 25 to choose from. I like the fact that some are different. Yes, it's a big departure, but they pulled it off. I have more issues with the plot than the death, but I'm not going to let that get in the way of my enjoyment. However, I just don't know where we go from here. The next film is going to be tough.
Hey guys, it's Johnny in Kansas City, Station A here with my 90-second review of No Time to Die. Then you quit screwing around with the gun barrel. I thought we were almost going to get a good one, but we couldn't quite commit. I love the pre-title scenes. The flashbacks set the great tone, and the Madeira scenes were awesome. The interaction between Daniel and Leah was really good, especially leading up to the train sequence, which knocked it out of the park. Title sequence was pretty good. The song has worked its way into number 2 for me out of the Daniel Craig era. Coming out of that, the heist scene was good. Good humor with Oberchef, Jamaica running into Lashana, and Felix seeing James Bond's abode. I could have gotten a little more Safin, could have done without M just developing a weapon of mass destruction for 10 years. And I wish we had something to rely on that made us feel good that we were going to kick off Bond 26 with some version of The Man with the Golden Gun's literary beginning. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Thanks for all your hard work. Really love listening every episode.
Hey guys, I'm a new listener here, and I absolutely loved the movie. It was great. I think they totally knocked it out of the park with that ending. I knew going in that he was gonna die, but it totally got to me, and I don't even really consider myself a Bond fan until this movie, I guess. But I really liked that the relationship between Bond and Madeline was the center point and driving force of this whole movie. I do think that you guys may have misread something about that. It seemed to me that in those 5 years, he was still in love with Madeline and he didn't really want to be with anyone else. Nomi comments that he's been starved for some action, and with Paloma, he stops her by asking, like, shouldn't we get to know each other first? And then tells her to turn around. So I don't think he really was interested in anyone but Madeline. I also read that Safin may have been purposely vague about his plans because in reality it doesn't make any sense to monologue about your evil plans. So I think that's why he didn't say anything, and that's what the movie was going for. He just asks Bond to leave him alone in exchange for him leaving Matilda alone. Anyways, I really enjoyed the movie podcast that you guys have put out so far, and it was cool that you pointed out so many little details that I totally missed. It also helped me see a lot of different perspectives on the movie, but I still absolutely love the movie, and I think it's excellent no matter what anyone else thinks.
Hey JBR, it's Steve Spring. Just wanted to leave my 90-second review for No Time to Die. 90 seconds is nowhere near long enough. First viewing, absolutely hated it. Second viewing, a lot more positive. Third viewing, I think it's starting to settle a little bit now on me. I didn't actually have any issues with the twists of Felix dying, the daughter, or Bond dying. My biggest issue was the tone of the film overall. I think I'm probably one of a few people that have an issue with the Cuba scene. I actually do think it's a great scene. I just don't think it's very Daniel Craig. I think if that was Henry Cavill running around doing that with Paloma, I think that would make sense. And I get that's why a lot of people enjoy that scene. I think it's, a lighter tone that people want, but I don't think it suits that film, and I don't think it suits Daniel. A lot of weird moments in it. I think the character of M was very strange, and I'm not keen on the Majesty's Secret Service references in the soundtrack in particular, but the overall soundtrack I thought was fantastic. The look of the film is fantastic. I thought Daniel was brilliant pretty much throughout, and I thought it was very entertaining. So definitely an improvement on Spectre, and I think it was a good way to end Daniel's run. So overall, I'm positive. I'm just glad that Bond is back, for however long we had him back for at least. And yeah, let's see what comes next. Bye.
Hey guys, Steve Parkhurst from Houston, Texas here, attempting a 90-second review on No Time to Die. I saw the movie exactly 3 weeks ago today, and I sent you guys a couple messages as soon as I had gotten out of the theater, just kind of indicating that I wasn't sure I was going to see it again, and that's actually where I've stood. I decided not to go see it a second time yet. I saw it in IMAX the first time. IMAX is now not an option. It's already gone out of theaters. I think it was only in IMAX here for 2 weeks. So I'm not going to see the movie again in IMAX. I'm going to try to see it again before it leaves the theaters, I think. Overall, I've ranked it number 16 out of the 25. So kind of right in the middle, not my favorite, not the worst, but very dark. And not a fan of just everybody dying. I mean, not only Bond, but then the way Blofeld kind of cheaply dies, and then the death of Leiter is really gutting. Just not a fan of just everybody going away, and the Safin character just really doesn't work for me. It just, some of these really dark scenes, as I've listened to your 30 days of the review, just kind of resetting some of those scenes, it's kind of like seeing the movie over again, and then just kind of realizing at the same time what it was that I didn't like, what didn't work for me. So anyways, I think this is 90 seconds. Again, I've ranked it number 16, and I'm going to try to see it again before it leaves the theaters, but who knows. Thanks, guys.
Hi, this is Anna and Stuart from Hartwell. We enjoyed watching the film, but never left a Bond film with so many questions. We love the throwbacks to On Her Majesty's Secret Service and the car chase, but how did they have all of Spectre's DNA, and why were the most secret group in the world all gathered for a birthday party? And where's the Colin the Caterpillar cake with the candles on for Blofeld?
My name is Kevin Rogers, and I live in North Carolina in the USA. To date, I have viewed No Time to Die 3 times, with a fourth coming up this weekend while the wife and I are on vacation. To say I was blown away is an understatement. The entire creative team excelled themselves with this one. The locations, stunts, sets, and scripting were all top shelf. Rami Malek as Safin was amazing, and he had a quiet, measured menace about him. I'm glad they gave Jeffrey Wright more to do as Felix, but I was gutted when he was killed. The final scene with him and Bond together was exceptional. When it came to the climax on Safin's Island, I was even more gutted as you could feel Bond's death coming. Everything was lining up that way, and he knew it. M's Jack London quote, I will use my time, was brilliant, and that's just what Bond did as he saved not only the world, but the family he would never get to be with again. As much as I hated that Bond dies, the power of the final minutes can't be overstated. I freely admit I cried like a baby. The final minute and a half of Final Ascent by Hans Zimmer still chokes me up when I play it. Going forward, I'd like to cast my vote for what it's worth for Richard Madden to be the next Bond, however he plans to return down the road. Thanks for all you guys do for the fans, and take care.
I'm not sure if I would have liked No Time to Die when I was 11 years old, but that's when I walked into a movie theater to see Goldfinger and walked out changed forever. I got my black hair cut like Bond's. I got a suit that looked like Connery's. I bought the soundtrack, album, vinyl, of course, and started reading all the Fleming books. In my mind, I was 007, and that feeling stayed with me for years. Age, time, and tone led to some distance in my 20s and 30s, but in my 40s, when 9/11 sent my hometown of New York reeling, I took solace in the reissue of the Fleming novels. My hero was back, inspiring me to stay strong during difficult times. When Casino Royale was released, I was first in line at the cinema. I loved the realism of the Craig films. I was thoroughly entertained by No Time to Die, but I found the ending to be both brilliant and haunting. I am no longer the kid who watched Goldfinger. I am a husband and I am a father, and I saw it through that prism. So I came away feeling like I had lost my best friend, and perhaps in some strange way, I felt a twinge of my own mortality.
Hi guys, it's Ollie Emerson from the Northwest here. I've actually been listening to JBR since I was 16. I'm 22 now, and for whatever reason, this is the first time that I've actually sent in a 90-second review for any of the films. And, well, what a film to send it in for. Probably one of the most divisive, if not the most divisive, Bond films that we will ever have the pleasure, in my opinion, of seeing. I think you've got to look at the film in two ways. One, the film in general, just as a Bond film, the action, the humour, the plot, etc. And then obviously the other way you have to look at it is what's your opinion on the ending. The ending, probably I'll go with first. I'm not 100% sure I want James Bond to die. I'm not 100% sure I'm comfortable with that. But I've seen the film 4 times. I've made my peace with it. And now my opinion now is if you are going to do it, that's the way to do it. The shot of Bond looking up the missiles, staring death in the face seems perfect for what Fleming would have done. And I love those ending two scenes with the MI6 crew. And then obviously I love that final line, let me tell you a story about a man, Bond, James Bond. The rough film in general, I've got 20 seconds left, so I'll be quick. But Ana de Armas steals the show in Cuba. She's amazing. She's so hot. Just an incredible actress. And yeah, like I said, absolutely smoking. The pre-titles I love. Getting Felix back, his demise. There's humour, there's emotion, there's passion. I think that given some time, given some digestion, we're going to look back on this at one of the best ever Bond films.
Hi guys, this is Charlie Kessler from Chicago. Right off the bat, I want to say that I love No Time to Die. I was one of the lucky few to see it at the Royal Premiere, which was the most incredible experience I've ever had. Even after that screening, I was conflicted about a lot and had to process the film before figuring out where I really landed on it. But immediately after the second screening with the JBR family, I knew I loved it. Incredible action, terrific performances, excellent editing and pacing, and an ending that left me in tears. Especially over this last year, many people, myself included, have dealt with some sort of loss and having to say goodbye to someone in their life. And I feel like that must have made this film resonate even more on an emotional level. I know it does a lot that we're not used to seeing in Bond films, but what's beautiful about the Bond series is that after almost 60 years, we have 25 films, and there's truly something for everyone in every mood. I would rather a franchise this big take risks and do things that surprise me instead of just doing what we've seen multiple times before. I've said before that Pierce Brosnan is what made me a Bond fan, and Daniel Craig kept me a Bond fan, and he's been a huge part of my life growing into adulthood as a Bond fan. And, I'm sad to see his run end, but I think this is a terrific way for him to go out. And really, it's just great to be excited about a new Bond film again. So yeah, what a time for us. All right. Thanks, guys.
How about that, bro?
Mate, it didn't disappoint, did it?
It
did not disappoint 1 second. Wow. Well, it was just great to hear like so many different people. First of all, thanks for everyone that sent a message in. Yep. Absolutely brilliant, the amount of you that sent in a message for it. And again, like polarizing views. It's crazy. I don't think there's been any film that has been this sort of divisive between the JBR community or between Bond fans in general, really. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it's and I get it. I really do get it. I'm not in the camp of like, oh, why don't you like it? Come on. That's not how I look at it at all. I absolutely get it because it's new territory, isn't it? This one, it's stuff that Bond doesn't usually do. Themes that aren't usually involved. You don't get kids in Bond films very rarely. If they are, Bond's pushing them into a river by their face, or doing squirt gun games in Vegas. So I totally get it, and it's an intriguing one. And I'll tell you what, man. Like I've said before, there's one thing for certain is that I think people will be debating this film for decades. This will be one of those, I predict, that will go down like Majesties, whereby we're talking about it as the one where Bond dies, and it's gonna stick out of the pack for forever, I think, because of that one fact. It's funny looking back at Daniel's run, because when you look at it, you've got Casino Royale, which I think is the undisputed classic, isn't it? That's the one
for most people.
Might even be the best Bond film ever made. However, you've also got Skyfall in the middle, which is very highly critically acclaimed, made the most money, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously you've now got No Time to Die, very divisive, but obviously a standout movie as well in the series. Now, for me, I feel like maybe Casino Royale will be his signature film. Right, you might say, for the other two big Bonds other two, I should say, Sean and Roger, right? They were the big two for years, obviously. Their third film was the one that solidified it. And you could say the same about Daniel. Skyfall was the third one, was the one that did it. But do you think Skyfall lives on in the popular culture as much as Casino does? Do you know what I mean? In the wider world, it's like when they do secret cinema, they're not doing Skyfall secret cinema, are they? They're doing Casino Royale secret cinema. Things like that. Do you know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think because it was very well received by public as well. Like when I say public, I'm not talking about Bond fans. I'm talking about the general cinema-going public. It is a very, very well received film, Skyfall. I think there was a lot of things that helped it, obviously the Olympics, etc. But So I think it's quite close for some people. Some people do obviously prefer Skyfall, but I think Casino will be the signature one. I think Skyfall will be well remembered, and then No Time to Die will be the one that Bond died. Quantum will be what was that one with the fast editing that was quite quick, and then Spectre will be
that's the one that Tom likes.
That's the one that overall it's going to be interesting to see how No Time to Die is reflected upon. I think those that like it now are never going to change their opinion. They're always going to like it. I think there's some people who may have only seen it once who need to see it again. It's not going to happen for everyone, but the amount of people that we know that weren't sure the first time, saw the second time, loved it is insane in terms of the percentage of people. But there will clearly be those. Well, we've heard from some of them today that have watched it more than once, 2, 3, 4 times, and still don't like it. And then the likelihood is they're never going to see it again. And obviously, there are a few people seen it once, don't want to see it again. So it is going to be it is crazy. But I think we had a few similar themes come up. Obviously, Cuba scene everyone seemed to like. Paloma, most people seem to like anyway. Pre-titles came up a lot, didn't it? The Norway sequence and the DB5 chase, that was obviously great. I think Safin tended to polarize views. Some people liked what they did with the characters. Some people really weren't sure. And I think we sort of hit on this earlier in our sort of episodes about the plot and the plan, and maybe it just needed to be a little bit clearer in terms of what it was going for, which I think is fine. And I think obviously Léa Seydoux got a couple of shout outs. She's definitely was really, really good in the film. So yeah, I think there were a lot of similar things from some people, but then ultimately that ending is just huge, isn't it? Because some people like the film but don't like the ending. Some people just didn't like the film in general. But I think that ending has such a big effect on people's view on it. Obviously, some people sounded pretty outraged by what happened and stuff and what have you. So yeah, it's crazy, but ultimately I think it's a film that needed to be done because, well, in my mind, it was a really good way of perfect way for Daniel Craig to sort of finish. But even if people didn't like it, they were brave, Eon. They had an idea, they went with it, and you're never going to please everyone. But the fact
that's
that
the worst thing to do is try and please everyone.
Yeah, because then you're getting all these little bits and pieces, and it's never going to feel sort of like a proper cemented film if you try and do that. So that is never going to happen. But I think ultimately it was a good thing that they went down this path. You know, whether there's people that will never like it, fair enough. But they went for it. They tried it, and in my mind, they succeeded. In loads of people's minds they succeeded, but obviously not everyone's. But ultimately, great, it's done. And like we mentioned in the round table, it's whatever comes next, we'll wait and find out. But it's just brilliant to hear from everyone, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. All right then. So JBR is going to be taking a little bit of a break after our 30 days of No Time to Die coverage. We're going to be back for the Boxing Day quiz as per usual. So look out for that, and there might be some bonus No Time to Die content coming through between now and then as well. Some little bits coming through. So yeah, I suppose sending a message to our Australian cousins down under who still haven't got to see the film yet.
Bless them.
God
I feel
bless
sorry
you.
for JBR Melbourne, Paul Jameson and the gang, and there's a imagine that though, like how much we've done basically 30 days for No Time to Die. We've seen the film, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times, whatever it is, and gone through, obviously created all this content and gone through everything that we've thought about, and everyone else in the UK and the US as well, and then these poor guys who just haven't been able to see, and hopefully they haven't had too many spoilers that they've seen. Hopefully they've managed to shut themselves away, and so they'll get to see it fresh. But we'll definitely have a good chat to a few once Australia and New Zealand and everyone's had their fill as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right then. So until Boxing Day.
Yeah, Boxing Day quiz.
I've been Tom Sears.
I've been Chris Wright.
And JBR will return for some Christmas shenanigans and maybe some No Time to Die bonus content as well.
So make sure you get studying for this Boxing Day quiz.
Indeed.
And and there might be a few little nuggets in between now and then as well.
Beautiful. Sounds good to me. All right then, everybody. We will see you soon. Take it easy.
Take care. Thanks for sending in your message. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Good night.